the March 20th Franklin Conservation Commission meeting. Before I begin, I just want to say, that's interesting, you have everyone sitting on one side of the room, which never has happened ever in history. Must be something wrong with that side of the room. Okay, anyway, so if anybody wants to, anybody who's online or in chambers wants to record video or audio, please let us know before you do. We are taking both video and audio recordings of the meeting. I want to note to everyone, the microphones are specifically for the person taking the notes so that they can hear what's being said and they know who's speaking when. It's not that you're being recorded for the meeting specifically. So I'd like to open up the first meeting, which is the NOI for Louise.
Roll call.
I'm sorry, thank you.
All right, yeah.
Roll call.
Richard Johnson.
Louis Puga.
Mark LePage.
Jeff Livingstone.
Michael Ryan.
Roger Trahan.
Nicole Shermonte.
Thank you very much. Now we'll open up the
All right.
first hearing for Louise Drive. And is there anyone here from Louise Drive? Yes?
Yep. Tom Schutz from Goddard Consulting here on behalf of the applicant for Louise Drive. So we submitted our third or fourth round of peer review comments to the commission last Thursday. We are still waiting for a response back from that. If there's any other update from Bricolage, that would be much appreciated. And if there's anything that we can do to help facilitate potentially a finalized draft of the peer review comments before the next hearing, we'd love to hear it. But any other comments, I'd be happy to take them now.
Yes, this is also Kevin Demers from Dupreet Engineering, here as the engineer on behalf of the applicant.
Okay.
I'll take this as my cue just to jump in.
Go ahead.
So I did reach out to Beta today to see where they were at for their review, and I was told that they should be wrapping up comments tomorrow.
Come on.
Fantastic.
So I should, yeah. So I know we're close. So we just need to get it all of our T's crossed and I's dotted.
Yeah, absolutely. And you might not know the answer to this, but do you anticipate this being the final peer review comment letter, or is there still some stuff to work on?
I mean, based on our work session, so we did have a work session,
Yep.
so the Conservation Commission knows, and that was pretty fruitful. It's really just stormwater comments that we're outlining, so I do believe as long as Gary signs off on it, I think we're close. Yeah.
Okay, good to hear.
I don't anticipate curveballs, but I don't necessarily make those decisions, so.
No, absolutely, and that's totally understandable. And hopefully, if there are some questions that are still up in the air, we can have a second work session next week to kind of try and lay all those out and figure them out before the next hearing.
So one question, so in the report from the agent, there are a series of comments from the DEP, and I'm assuming that those have already been reviewed, yes?
Yep, so those aren't new. If they're new comments, I'd actually put it at the top with the highlight that says new.
Okay.
And then the header for DEP comments would say new comments. I just keep that current
Okay. Got
with
it.
agent report.
Okay. Okay. So I guess then and is there anybody online or in the audience that has any comments or questions about Louise Drive? Okay. There being none, I will take a motion to continue that.
Tom, Kevin, you guys set?
Yeah, you guys said, you all right?
Yes, I
Yeah,
just
can
wanted
you
to add,
confirm the-
we had a productive working session with
Okay.
Gary James of Beta. I think we're on the track to resolving all these issues.
Okay. Yeah, sounds like it. Sounds good.
Tom, did you have something too?
Yeah, can you confirm the next hearing date?
April
Would it be
April
the
3rd.
3rd? Okay,
Yep.
great, thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
With that, I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for Louise Drive to April 3rd at 7:01.
Second. Vote to continue.
Continue.
Vote to continue.
Abstain?
Abstain.
Continue.
Continue.
Oh, I couldn't,
Yeah, you have to abstain.
I have to abstain.
Yeah, you
Yep.
have to abstain.
Okay.
Got carried
But we
away.
still have 1, 2,
3, 4 votes, so we have a quorum.
Yep.
So we can continue. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. All right, so I'd like to open up the next hearing, which is the NOI for Prospect Street culvert repair. Is there anyone here in the audience for Prospect Street or online for Prospect Street culvert
Looks
repair?
like Brooke's online. Hey, Brooke.
Yep. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Brooke Morganelli, Assistant Town Engineer. We met on March 7th to discuss the second round of comments. It was with Mark, the Vice Chair, and Director Bricolai. We addressed those second round of comments from Beta in our most recent letter. And we had addressed the DEP comments as well. And I think we covered everything, but let us know if you feel otherwise.
Very good. It seems like everything's pretty much squared away, yes?
Yes, good to see you again, Brooke. So, yes, I would recommend approval with the variance, and then no conditions apply, considering the work is done, so it's an after the fact.
Okay. Can we just say the variance is stated in the agent's report?
You can, sure, I mean, you would just vote on the NOI and approve that.
Okay.
So it's still an order of conditions, it's just
Right,
there
right,
are
right,
no
right. Okay, understood,
conditions.
understood.
And then you say with the variance
Okay.
request.
Okay. So before we do that, is there anyone online or in the audience that has any comments or questions about the Prospect Street culvert repair project? There being none, I will take a motion.
All right, we'll give you a motion to approve the NOI for 124, 126 Grove Street with the variances requested.
Second. Vote to approve.
Prospect
I'm
Street,
sorry,
Prospect Street.
Prospect Street.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
let me actually.
I know, because you're reading it else, yeah.
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 Let me restate that. I'll give you a motion to approve the NOI for the Prospect Street culvert repair. How about that?
I'll second that
There
one
we
too.
go. Thank you, Debbie. Good
Thank you
catch.
very much.
Yeah, I was reading.
And I'll vote to approve the NOI for Prospect Street culvert repair.
I vote to approve.
Approved? Approved?
Approve.
Approved.
Okay, approved. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Brooke.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay. So now I'd like to open up the next public hearing, which is the NOI for 124, 126 Grove Street. Do we have anybody here or online for 124, 126 Grove Street? Okay.
They had asked for a continuance request.
Hi, Mike
Oh.
Cassidy here from Gary and Haldon.
Yes.
We did request a continuance, but she's correct. We did request a continuance.
Okay.
We did get the testing results that were holding up
Okay,
our revisions, and so we're hoping to get those revisions made, in the coming weeks and be able to present an update at the April 3rd meeting.
okay, April 3rd, okay. Was that enough time? Do you think April 3rd is enough time?
I think so, and I know our client is very eager to get this going, and so we'd like to try for April 3rd, and if that doesn't work out, then we would continue again, but we don't want to, miss the opportunity if we can make it.
Okay, understood, sure. Okay, is there anybody, does anyone have any questions about this? No? Is there anybody online or in the audience has any questions or comments about 124, 126 Grove Street? If not, I'll take a motion.
I'll give you a motion.
Just, so you're working on the stormwater management infrastructure, right?
Sorry, I muted myself. Yes, that was the biggest thing. We had to do additional testing in the basin, and the ramifications of those testing results would have, pretty far-ranging impacts. And so we didn't want to, essentially duplicate our work if we had to make a change that would invalidate other revisions. And so now that we have the testing, we know where the stormwater is going to end up, and so we can kind of finalize everything else.
Okay, Great, thanks.
Any other questions? No?
Sorry, I thought of that the last second.
I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for 124, 126 Grove Street to April 3rd at 7:02 PM.
Second that?
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Continue?
Continue?
Continue.
Continue.
Continue. Thank you, guys. Okay, and then we'll go on to the next public hearing, which is the NOI for 1 Paddock Lane. Is there anyone in the audience or online for 1 Paddock Lane?
Good evening, folks. Chris Frateroli with Goddard Consulting.
Hey, Chris?
Yes. So as a little bit of a recap, on the Friday after the last hearing, March 7th, we submitted a package of revisions addressing primarily Beta's comments, making a handful of tweaks and additions of our own. We've kind of steadily pared back the limit of work for this project, and obviously we know that we have a squeeze between buffer zones and zoning setbacks. We're just trying to reach a point and work with you folks to get to a place where we can give you what you're looking for, and you can give us what we're looking for in an order of conditions. So I think a valuable thing to do here might be to kind of walk through a couple of alternative layouts that we had put together, if that sounds good.
Sure.
That'd be great.
So this was our alternative one. This you folks never even saw. This was kind of the site plan design that had been kicked around prior to filing anything. This is the same kind of house and driveway footprint that we're talking about now. It does not incorporate a retaining wall. This just uses simple grading. And we're talking about, over 2,500 square feet of impact to BVW with a 20,000-ish square foot limit of work. We dismissed this before we even came to you. The second is the proposal that we had initially given to you. We had implemented that retaining wall, which is a more costly thing to construct and design, to be sure. And this design had a little shy of 300 square feet of impact to BVW with a little shy of 15,000 square feet in the limit of work as a whole. So this was that first initial NOI submittal we had brought to you. We've since pared this down even a little further. We are obviously still working close to the wetland in those inner buffer zones, but we're avoiding wetland impact. We're at 0 square feet there now. Our limit of work has come down by about half from that alternative one that we just looked at. We're a little over 10,000 square feet of total limit of work here. And a couple other things to note is we've kind of flipped the driveway turnaround to the other side to be able to pull in that limit of work a bit. And there's a couple other things we'll hit on in a moment that make this a slightly more palatable design. And then there was one other alternative that we had prepared kind of for discussion, and this is the alternative in which we do not respect zoning setbacks. It allows us to get the house outside of the 25-foot buffer zone for the most part, still in that 50-foot buffer zone clearly. And we are now about 25 feet off the property line where we have a 40-foot zoning setback, and to be sure, about 40 feet from the corner of the neighboring house. So this is not really a viable alternative for us. Just to go back to the previous one that we had just looked at, alternative 3 is where we're at right now. And then I will proceed on down. In addition to what we've kind of outlined on the site plans and in those couple of graphics preceding, we're also proposing a strip of planting around the outside. We're hoping to, return a little bit to the buffer zone here where we can. We are minimizing lawn really just to the extent where you're able to walk around the building. The lawn on this southern side here is really only because we have a zoning setback to respect there. It's 40 feet. The house is 40.4 feet off the property line to allow for a little bit of wiggle room in construction there. Another thing that we've gone ahead and added is we're providing stormwater management despite not being subject to the stormwater standards. We're directing roof runoff to a subsurface unit, and that will infiltrate a 1-inch rainstorm over the entire roof surface of the proposed dwelling. So we are, progressively trying to get to a more permeable place. Obviously, we have some pretty significant site constraints here. So this is what we have for you at the moment. And if there are other things that the commission might want to see from us in terms of mitigating efforts that we might be able to provide, or design changes that would be easy to implement, we are happy to entertain those and explore those and see what we can do there.
So this thing that's up on the screen is the one you're currently promoting?
That's.
Sorry, can you say that again?
That's number 3, that's the third.
Yes,
That's
correct. This is alternative 3 from those couple of graphics we had looked at a moment ago.
Yeah, further detail, all right.
Yep. So this does still respect those zoning setbacks. And we've, shrunk the limit of work as much as we can, and are providing plantings around the outskirts, and are infiltrating roof runoff.
And how much is in the 25-foot for this one?
We have a little over 2,000 square feet.
Okay.
How much of the house is in the 25-foot buffer zone?
I don't know if I have that number on hand. Looks to be about half. I'd hazard a guess around 1,000 square feet.
And how about the 50-foot buffer zone?
I'd have to crunch some numbers on that. I can do that for you folks, though, for sure.
But not as much.
So the numbers that were on the initial submittal are reduced considerably?
Correct. Yep. So this was
Yeah.
this was what we were looking at the initial submittal. So over 200 direct to the wetland, over 4,000 in the 0 to 25, and over 5,000 in the 25 to 50. And now we're down considerably from those points.
Yeah, we'd like to see those numbers.
Chris, can you zoom into the one where you show the structures? I think it was not the alternates.
Yeah,
Can
I got
you zoom into that?
This guy, yeah, absolutely. And I do have the actual site plan if that's more conducive to this conversation.
Wish we could put it on the screen.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to see what is the structure, what is the driveway, and what's, so you got the garage, so the front is the garage, the back side is the house.
Correct.
Okay. So that's, this is the new layout, well, the proposed layout 3, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. This is that layout. We keep trying to condense things here as much as possible.
Okay. No, thanks. I appreciate you showing us the alternatives.
Absolutely.
It's good to keep trying.
So just
We're hoping to work with you guys to get there.
no, it looks like it's changed. It just took reconfiguration of the site. I guess really one of my questions was sometimes some of the homes they'll have, like the garage, it's a separate unit, right? So was there potentially exploring the some of these houses here, they have the garage like as the first floor, I think some of these I used to live in a house where the garage was like in the lower floor, and then you have the upper floor, which was the home itself. Like, was that ever investigated or like looked into? So to basically shrink that footprint down, or were you just?
Yeah, we've talked about doing some things like that, like putting the garage under the house. I think we kind of decided that on a site like this, you probably cut that pretty firmly into the water table. We would imagine. So that's kind of presents a problem in that regard. We may be able to look into seeing how we might be able to put living space over the garage and maybe condense a bit. That's certainly something we can look into a bit more.
I don't know if that was something that would help you out with, you know, because it's still two different structures, so, you know, sometimes it helps out, like, if you combine them in some way architecturally, you know, you can still meet having a house and a garage, not just the, you know, you still have both of them, it's not just, you know, eliminating the garage altogether, and then pushing the structure down to the south, but I just wanted to see if it was explored at one point, so, but thanks for the
Yeah,
alternatives.
absolutely. We'll look into that a bit more.
Okay, but thanks for going through the alternatives.
Sure thing.
Any other questions, guys? No? Are there any questions in the audience or online for?
Yes, hello. I have a question.
Yep.
Hi, Bernard Aguilar at 38 Palomino Drive. So I just wanted to ask about, and that one's for Brika, and then I have another follow-up question for the Goddard Consulting. Brika, what is the process of getting the documentation online? Because I've been checking this, you know, since the last meeting, and I haven't seen anything until this morning, and there is a lot to digest. So obviously, you know, time is of the essence, but.
Yeah, so I know a few of your neighbors have been emailing me too. So we did get this document in. I unfortunately have the only thing to say is that I'm sure you can hear I'm sick. We've had people leave our office recently in the past 2 weeks, and we've had the flu going around as well. So it really comes down to, we have information that came in. Online is a great transparent way to view information. Coming into our office is also the legal and acceptable form of coming to view documentation. So I understand it wasn't up at enough time, but it is, you know, I think we do strive to put things up there in a relatively sufficient amount of time and to have information out there.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. And I just didn't know what the process is, and I appreciate the update. I hope you feel better.
You are right. I mean, yes, I would have liked for it to have been up before, and I had emailed actually earlier this week to make sure that it was up. It's just by the time that it actually got up to the website was significantly later.
And then, so when the documentation comes to you, do the commissioners get the information right away? So
Yes.
they had access to it like for a longer time than we did? Okay, all right,
Yep.
okay.
Yep. So they have a Google Drive. So
Okay.
as soon as I get information, I put it up on the Google Drive.
Okay, all right, thank
Yep,
you, I
and then
appreciate it.
Yep. And then they have a submission window. So all new information, which I'm sure you know, has to be submitted 1 week in advance by noon. So regardless, they would have had everything 1 week in advance.
Yeah, okay.
So there's a
right.
bit of a fail safe there.
Yeah, okay, thank you. You know, I know we talked about last meeting, was talked that, you know, Goddard would submit by Friday, which they did, right? The 7th, I think. So, so they, you know, they did that. And as we were checking online, I'm like, oh, I don't see it. But, you know, I understand. Okay. So I can also show up in your office. Excellent.
Yes, you can always show up. Thank you for your patience. I know it's,
That's okay. And then so back to the project, and it was touched upon just now. I was doing a little comparison of house sizes, right? So the proposed project is 32 by 64 feet. If you look at one paddock lane, the existing home on the other side of the property, that home is 26 by 48 feet. Right, so significantly smaller, and I'm thinking there must be a way to try to reduce the house size a little bit to avoid some of the buffer zone disturbances. Like in our neighborhood, the houses run, which is across the wetlands on the other side. They run around. Our house is 32 by 37 feet, right? So, we can still live in those houses very comfortably. It doesn't have to be a mega house to try to squeeze it into this tiny space. So I would really appreciate to see a little bit of work there from the owner and the consulting company on the house sizes. The other thing I just wanted to note is the comparison that you just did, the pictures. I really appreciated that. It was really easy to read, really easy to view. I like the different color lines. It clearly shows you where the buffer zones are. It's just like, I think that was a really well done document with the alternatives. So that's kudos to you guys. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Actually, I did have a question. Why can't the home be shifted a little bit further, like if the garage and then the proposed structure is in the 25-foot buffer zone? Why can't, is there a reason why that house cannot be just skewed a little bit to get it out of the zone and closer to the road? I understand they're gonna lose, you know, the yard, but is there a structural reason why they can't do that?
Yes, we do have 40-foot zoning setbacks to contend with on both the front and side yards here. So that's why you see these measurements here. We are just slightly over 40 feet. I suppose we could go that extra 0.4 of a foot and pick up that space, but we like to generally provide a little leeway in case there's any measurement errors during construction.
Thank you.
Anything else?
The deck is in the 25-foot buffer and a little bit of the house, correct?
Right, yes.
I'd really like to see either the deck eliminated or the house downsized. I mean, there's a good chunk of the house in, I think, garage, which is in the 50-foot buffer zone, and
Actually, I don't think the deck is in there.
is the deck in the 25-foot buffer zone?
It's between 20, I think it's between.
It's in the
is it-
25.
It is, yes. This is that 25-foot buffer zone line. It does a weird little jog here. So these are both the 25-foot buffer zone line here.
Oh, so the back of the house is 25 also?
Yes.
Correct.
Oh,
Small portion of it
A
is.
very small portion, yeah.
Yeah.
Not a very
well,
small.
a pretty good portion of it, I'd say. I mean, not half, but I bet we're pushing a third, or at least a quarter.
Not according to.
Right
the
here
number.
it is, right here. There's
Yeah.
here's the 25-foot.
Right there,
Look
yeah.
at the
Right
other
there.
20, so it's the deck.
So
it's
we
deck.
got about that much room.
Yeah, the other 25
The
too.
house in the.
But the back of the house is also in the 25.
Look at that other side.
Yeah, this much of the house is
No.
in the
No.
buffer zone.
No, on the,
No,
to the
on
left,
the other side,
there's another 25
towards
foot.
the top of
That
the
one right
What is this
there,
one
yeah,
here?
that's
That's 25
That's a
foot.
continuation, it goes up and over and meets the other one.
So this is 25 too?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Oh, well, then there's a whole bunch on this
Whole
side.
bunch,
Yeah.
Whole bunch,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's weird the way that thing goes.
Yeah.
You can't avoid that either if we,
I think what's confusing is the geometry of this.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not-
exactly.
if you try to get out of the 25-foot buffer zone,
You don't
you
allow.
can't build anything on
Yeah,
it.
right. Yeah.
25 foot is no touch.
That's what I thought.
It's a tough lot to build on.
Yep.
For conservation.
It's basically a non-buildable lot, it's basically what it is.
We have a
At least for
question.
this size house.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it is.
We have a question in the audience.
Yes, question?
What size is the actual lot? I mean, this is what you're showing as where you're gonna be building, but how much is the lot that is
It's,
associated with
It's
this? Is this it?
it's extends.
So this is currently one lot. The proposed divided lot would be about 55,000 square feet.
So is this the delineation of the lot size?
No, no,
No.
no,
It's much bigger, right?
no, it's huge.
It's over here.
Yeah, look, Richard, it's like the whole thing is like this,
It's got, it already has a house on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, the lot.
That's all one big lot. Yeah, it's all big
So
lot.
this is
yeah.
all,
In between.
this house
It's
owns
a
all of this.
55,000 square foot lot.
Okay,
The new lot is, yeah.
The new lot,
that makes
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So in between the two.
And it's
well,
all,
the
basically it's all
proposed and
wetlands.
existing is-
It's all
Wetlands,
things.
except for that one
Yeah, one corner.
corner.
Yeah.
which we're trying-
The whole place is a wetland.
Yeah, the whole place is wet. Yeah. Yes?
Yes, sir.
My name is John Detterman, and I live at 86 Palomino Drive. Before I get into my little story, the way to avoid infringing the wetlands is to avoid it, right? As I understand it, we're talking about legally right now, it's one lot, right? So we're talking about putting another house there on a single-family lot and
Yeah.
dividing the land.
Yeah.
I don't know what the process is about dividing that, but there was never an intention of having any aspect of that lot other than where the current home is considered buildable. That was always considered not buildable because of the wetlands. And I think the surveys have proven that out, that the only way to be true to the wetlands is to build a much smaller home. And each of these iterations has gotten us, you know, I guess, we're thanking the consultants for coming back with iterations that are less bad, but they're all bad. So now that the weather is a little better, it's easier for me to get out and attend in person. I'm told that I come across as too aggressive by Zoom. I like to think I'm really a nice guy, and I'm genuinely seeking to understand the process and to educate myself. So I just want to back up and provide a little history on my involvement, if I could. And I think it will inform my confusion and my interest, I guess. My first interaction with the Conservation Commission happened years ago when my wife and I received what I would describe as a very serious letter from the town. We were facing steep fines for the fact that abutters across Plain Street, so I think I've previously described that our lot goes from Palomino Drive to Plain Street. People across Plain Street were dumping yard waste on our property. That was our responsibility because we were the property owners. The fines were to be very steep if we didn't act. So I immediately called the agent and I thanked them for their interest, and I asked for their help. And they said that I was the first call that they ever received in response to a letter like that, thanking them. But I was genuinely concerned. I didn't know how to go about protecting the wetlands, but not declaring war with neighbors I didn't know. So I asked for his help by notifying the offenders to make them aware of, you know, their actions were impacting us. My wife and I had to formally notify these people, more than one resident. We had to formally notify them, and we had to tell them what we were facing and that we were going to be coming to them for that. So old habits die hard. It took a long time for that process to stop, for people to realize that this really was serious, that we weren't going to go away, the town wasn't going to go away, they needed to stop their actions. Once that stopped, we got another letter from the town because there was litter on the property in proximity of the wetlands. So my wife and I were forced to clean up the brandy bottles that somebody apparently routinely dumped out their car window before they got home. So fast forward many years, And we have been discussing a property where not only does the property owner allow their landscaper to dump their yard debris in the same proximity of the wetlands as I was almost jailed for, and that's an exaggeration, but the same landscaper services several homes in that area and dumps from all those homes in those proximity of the wetlands. So forgive my description here, but now we're discussing dumping a house in the same protected area. I'm genuinely confused what's changed. The regulations haven't gotten looser, as I understand it. I know there's a concern about an appeal for not allowing somebody to use their property, but the property is currently being used for its intended purpose. So nobody's taking anything from this property owner, in my opinion. So this is a genuine question now, not sarcastic. What's changed that we can entertain this and thank the consultants, no disrespect to them, they're doing what they were getting paid for, but thank them for not violating the wetlands to the extent they initially were going to, when I was facing steep fines for yard waste.
So, I think we may have talked about this before, I'm not sure if you're on line, John. First off, right, clearly a decision has not been made here, right? This is a public hearing.
Yes.
It's a conversation. You've been part of the process, you see how this has progressed.
And I'm learning through it. I truly am interested and open to hear.
Oh, yeah, it's great you're here, love the comments, right? We love to hear public comments.
Are you sure you love all my comments?
No, seriously, I mean, we wish more people came in and gave
No, we're
comments.
very, we encourage people to come forward.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
And we encourage people to come forward.
Okay.
Oh, 100%, either side. Our position so far is, we're asking questions, understanding the impact. Chris, Frederelli, and Goddard have tried to work it, the comments before, it's a very challenging piece of property. I think we're all aware of that, but, the process does continue to move along. At some point, we'll end up making a decision.
Right.
And, we'll take in consideration the challenging nature of the property and how this is fit in, so.
Let me just,
Yeah, go ahead.
to Mark's point, this is the gate, right? I mean, you can propose anything you want.
Yes,
You could
yep,
put
understood.
an ice cream factory here, if that's what you want to.
Try.
Well, no, but I mean, if you want to go to the expense of having an architect make you an ice cream factory, you can do that. You could, right? But you're probably not gonna get much further when it comes to this gates, right? So would you really wanna spend like tens of thousands of dollars having it done just to get it dropped at the, before you get on the track?
Understood.
So.
And I have two more comments, if I could,
Sure.
not questions.
Does that answer your question, though?
It does. Well, sort of.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel that my wife and I were ever in a position to tell the agent, yeah, we think it's okay that somebody's dumping on our property, even though it's within protected territory.
Okay, wait.
Yes.
Really is a different thing. So, and now I'm gonna soapbox just a little bit, I've said this before. So, one of the problems you have with law is that if someone that you don't know comes and does something legally on your property, when it's coming to wetlands, it doesn't matter who it is, how it got there, why, was it vindication, was it someone trying to actually do something bad to you, right? Unfortunately, the way the law is written is the property owner is responsible, period, okay? Now, let me just say, one place where that is really a problem is when people who don't know anything about conservation maybe come from states where you don't even have a lot of wetlands, you know, maybe Arizona or something, right? Okay, desert, right? And they come here and they go through a realtor and they buy a piece of property and they go out in the back and they start putting a shed in or something or an extension or something like that. And then suddenly they get a letter from the agent. You're like, what are you doing? Okay, you have all these wetlands. And they go, what? Okay, and they find out after the fact, and after they spent all this money, right, through this realtor that has taken their commission and conveniently disappeared, right? Suddenly, all of that property in the back that they bought, because they bought the property for that, can't be touched. And they did not know that. And now on top of that, because they've started construction, they have all these fines coming. Okay? And nobody told them. The realtor is just scot-free. I sold you, that's it, right? Okay? But because they own the property, they have no recourse at all towards someone doing an underhanded deal to them, with them at the time. I think that's wrong, but that's how Massachusetts law is set up. Okay? Case in point.
Yep.
And I guess to tie it all together, you know, this is the gate. So the landowner is asking via this this proposal to do something, and this body decides whether or not. So in your case, you know, you could have asked the Conservation Commission, can we put grass clippings on our, and then we probably would have said no. But
Right.
that would have been the process. So nothing has changed.
Yeah.
But let me just also say, please understand, and so this, again, okay, so this commission really has two hats, not one but two. One, the regulatory hat, which it is its mission edict, yes, right? But the bottom line is, we are all volunteers, we're citizens, and we work for the town, and of course, we would like our town to be a good town and people to come here and say their etc., right? So there is a sympathy with people that find themselves in these situations. So what you'll find is that people who run into these kinds of problems, yes, true, the law says you're responsible. But if they come to us and explain, we had no idea. When we walked out the door with my coffee and my God, this thing is just like appeared, okay? What? I didn't have no idea, right? No, you know. Well, what we can do is we can work with the owner and say, let's just not do the fines, right? Let's work together to somehow get this cleaned up, right? Let's try to help you because we're trying to come to, right? Because instead of fighting the agent, wasn't me that dumped it, they came forward and said, we had no idea, can you help us out? Can you work with us? And 9 times out of 10, we will. And 9 times out of 10, we throw out the fines because we're sympathetic as citizens and property owners, most of us, right? With something like happened that they had no control over, right? It's not, we know it's not fair. We know that's true. And by God, we just love to catch the idiots that are doing this stuff, but unfortunately, most of the time, you don't. You know, unless it's like a neighbor, and then you have to be careful because you don't want to get into a war, find your house like firebombed or something by the guy next door because, right, okay, so I'm just saying, and we've also had to carefully tiptoe between, abutting people, okay, so we don't cause, these turf wars that go out of hand, okay, which I've seen, and it gets really ugly, okay, like police, like bad, okay, right?
Yep.
Okay, and he threatened to bury my cat, all right, so, I mean, yes.
So, this homeowner, this property owner in One Paddock Lane can in no way, shape, or form say they're caught off guard by the fact that this is a difficult piece of land to build on.
Again,
yep.
And please understand that, and I will tell you, this commission and our most excellent agent have spent an unbelievable amount of effort, time, and money putting together pamphlets, suggestions, recommendation sheets, guidelines, all just infinite amount of educational material on the conservation site. I mean, a huge amount of effort is going into it.
Which I have learned a tremendous amount
Right, I'm
from.
just saying, so everything is there, but again, we can't force someone to go to the site and read, right? We can't force them to read the bylaws, but but the whole objective there, just again, to point this out, was to make something that was palatable for the general public, not some sort of legalese that's in the, you know, the public code.
Yep.
Right? So that's why all these materials were made. But that's also true for people like wanting to, you know, to work with a construction company. Now, the construction company working in the town is required, of course, as professionals, to know what the laws are and what the bylaws are, right? But the person building the house is, you know, it could be an accountant. They have no idea, right? So we had to make something, we wanted to make something that was, that they would be educated enough to have a intelligent conversation, you know, such that if they see something, they can put their hand up and say, whoa, wait a minute. I see what you're proposing here, but, you know, I'm looking at the guidelines and, right? Okay, so it empowers the applicant, empowers the property owner, so they don't get caught into these problems later on, which become expensive. They gotta get lawyers, they have to come in front of hearings, etc. Right?
Appreciate
was the
that.
whole point.
Yes. Yep. So there's plenty of information out there, and that's the only way that
Tons of
I
information.
have any information.
Yeah. I mean, you literally would have to work not to do anything, and not to look at anything, and not to read anything, to come forward with something that was truly preposterous. I mean, right. Okay, and let me just say,
Yeah.
and there are construction people, companies, that do come in and try to railroad through, and we have seen them, we know who they are, right? And they go town to town to town, and they basically railroad the process. And I'm just gonna do whatever the hell I want, and, you know, the hell with you, and if you put, you know, problems, I'm gonna sue you, I'm gonna take you to court, I'm gonna go all the way, you know, blah, 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 right, okay? That does happen. Okay?
So I do appreciate the work of everybody involved, because I know it's not easy to get to the level of granularity that's required to come to decisions on things like this. And versions 1 through, 99 have slight changes, but they're meaningful changes.
Right.
So if I can just share 2 opinions. Number 1, each version that I've seen has impervious driveway. And I keep making the point that if there's true sincerity on the property owner's part to build a home basically in the wetlands, the least I think we could ask for is the driveway not to be considered impervious.
That is true, but, okay,
Yep.
keep in mind also that one of the classic things you look at in a project is you look for potentials for remediation, right? So the idea is that if you're taking, let's say, just for, discussion, I'm taking 100 square feet away of this kind of wetland, can I carve out 100 someplace else on the property that's not that property and restore it, or create the plant structure and everything such that I'm recreating that type of wetland type characteristics somewhere else, right? So net, right? Now, the bylaw classically is the remediation is not 1-to-1, but 2-to-1. That's the guideline. Sometimes it's just simply not possible because of the site. And you will see us in some of our rulings say, okay, we'll make it like 1.5-to-1, maybe 1.5-to-1, or 1.3-to-1, or something like that, right? But the classic rule of thumb is 2-to-1. You take 100 feet away, you have to build 200, you go to the expense, bind the plants, whatever you do, someplace else, and that is untouched, right? So it's almost as if that border extended around that piece, right? So the net is 0. But that also means that there are additional provisions that are written into the conditions, which is that you can't just like throw some seeds down and walk away. We come back in a year, we come back in 2 years. Has it actually developed into that reclaimed, that recreated site or not, Because if it hasn't, then your conditions won't fly. You never get your COC, okay? So there's still a guard, right? We can't just, okay, here's a packet of seeds, that's it, reclamation's done, you know, right? No, that's not how it works.
Yep.
Okay, clearly, all right? So just understand there are additional, in the conditions that we set for a project, these are conditions that have to be met and checked off at the end, right? Okay? There are some additional guardrails that the Conservation Commission can set up, such that people just don't walk away and not fulfill the negotiated agreement that we had to maintain the wetlands and the ratios in the way that we're trying to do as a convenient compromise for the applicants. Okay?
Yes, understood. Yep. So let's just remember that this is a single-family lot that was intended to have one home on it.
Yes, understood.
Thank you.
Understood, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate you coming in, thank you. And not coming in Zoom, and not berating us over Zoom.
That's, my family tells me that I sound
About the
too.
family.
They say I sound too aggressive, but I'm never really sure if I can be heard properly. And
Yeah, yeah.
My name's Rick Saccone. I live on Chester Street, and I'm a tree hugger. I'm here to support these folks, the neighbors, the direct abutters to this. 25 years ago, Jimmy Chilson, rest his soul, told us this day was going to come, that Franklin would become so inundated by the lust for money and the lust for property and the lust for land, that we would be building on every single piece of land and every piece of questionable, and we would only hope that our boards going forward would understand that you can't build on everything. And you put rules in place for a reason, and you put regulations in place for a reason. And some sooner or later, we have to say some things are unbuildable. If I'm not mistaken, and I was at home listening to half asleep and drooling on myself as always, and when I heard, so the side of this house is going to be 25 feet. Some of it's actually going to be in the 25-foot buffer. I tried to speak to this 2 weeks ago, but Brika told me I was right, and she was right, so I apologize for that. But now, I have the floor. That means when these kids come out and get off of their deck, they're already in our wetlands. They're already in the property that we were supposed to protect. The land that we were supposed to save for the owls and the hawks and we just have to, and again, I apologize to you because I come down looking like maybe the bad guy. And sometimes someone has to be the bad guy. Sooner or later, we have to put, to this gentleman's point, to the developer's point, I heard him say, I did catch, that the right-hand side of the house, I think, whether it's the north, the east, or west, is 40 feet from the 40 feet based on the setback. Couldn't that same engineer, go to the ZBA and ask for a sideline variance to get it out of that property, to get it out of that wetlands? You don't always have to abide by your sidelines. There's remedies to that, and there's variances for those things. You go to the ZBA and you say, we have a hardship, and again, these people that want to build this house, they might be wonderful people, I get it. And I feel bad to go up against anybody who lives 5 miles away from me. But because this, and again, and I have a vested interest in this, there are lots behind me that would try to get built on multiple times with the same type of issue. And I'm sure before I die, or maybe after, they'll come back again. And again, if I'm alive, I'll be here to argue against that type of thing, where sooner or later, something's unbuildable. If we don't do it, then nothing will ever be unbuildable. And we don't need a conservation commission, because we'll put septic systems in wetlands, and we'll build, it'll be the wild, wild west, and all bets will be off.
Yeah, but I need to say one thing.
Just one?
No, well,
Please.
I want to make one very important point. What was the percentage of people that turned out, you'll see where I'm going with this, Well, does anyone know what the percentage of people in the town was that turned out for the last local election? What was that percentage?
And that's relevant, why?
I'll answer the question, I'll tell you.
Oh, I don't know, 18,
Less. 14.
and the reason, and it,
Because some of these people are elected bodies, and those elected bodies appoint. They appoint the ZBA, right?
yes, sir.
Who are the people of the ZBA? What interests do they have in land?
Well,
What real estate holdings do they have?
we know, we all
Okay,
know
I'm
that.
just
We've-
saying- Okay, I'm just saying that the point is that people are not turning out to elect people that are going to make these kinds of changes to prevent this kind of stuff from happening.
But, so, how does that, I mean, again,
Because
sooner or
well,
later,
what I'm saying, no, yeah, because the problem is that Franklin is known for that kind of thing.
so we should continue it?
No, I'm saying that that's the reputation that the town gets.
But that's yesterday,
So you have-
sooner or later.
Yeah, wait, let me finish though, is that the problem is you have people that come in to try to do this steamrolling because they think they can get away with it, because they think that the town is sympathetic, because of the people that sit on those types of boards and commissions, which ultimately are dictated by the people who vote.
Well, to your point, I absolutely agree with your premise. I also think that our town hall, oh no, I'm in, I was gonna point down the street, but I'm in it, wants more houses and wants more apartments and wants more, they need more revenue, we know it. That's why we're gonna go vote for another override,
Yeah.
because they need more revenue. But at what cost?
Yeah.
Sooner or later, see what's happened with me?
No, I'm sympathetic, I'm on your side.
Sooner or later.
Yeah, I'm saying.
I understand, we have too many
it's-
builders on too many boards,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
too many
Yeah.
people with vested interests, when money comes in to be the problem. Again, I mentioned PS last time, PS talked to this time and time again, about how money ends up taking things over. Well, I'm a tree hugger. Sooner or later, we gotta save something for the wildlife, if there will be any more, but soon they probably won't be, because I say, sooner or later, we'll cover it all with asphalt,
You
and
will
we'll
not
cover it
get-
all with
You will
homes.
not get any argument from us, but what happens is that we see more and more projects, a higher percentage of questionable projects coming in front of this board, year after year after year.
Because we're out of land, quality buildable land. So now we end up with stuff like this, that in my humble opinion is not buildable, plain and simple. I heard one of these gentlemen say it, I think before I left my house. We're dealing with an unbuildable lot. And putting a house to the lady that spoke prior on, I think on the phone, it's a big house on a tiny lot with way too much wetlands surrounding it, or on its, in other words, if you want to build a house on that lot, get it out of the wetlands. Abide by at least the 50-foot buffer. Plain and simple. Don't let kids come off of their deck and be in the wetlands, because then they won't be wetlands, they'll just be a yard. And thank you for listening to my crazy.
Yep, okay. And with that, are there any other questions or comments?
I think Rika Lai had
Rika?
Rika Lai?
There's another person here on Zoom. They can go before me.
Oh.
Okay, please,
Yes,
other person.
yeah, someone's got their hand up,
Yes.
just listed as guest.
Guest?
Hi. I'm Sherry Goodell. I'm one of the owners of the abutting property at 153 Beach. And you can see, okay, sorry, and my dog, one of my dogs. What, I have a question about, I've heard about a variance being applied for, and I wanted to ask what that variance is and get a better understanding of what that is. Because when I look at this, I'm seeing someone in my backyard because of the shape of our property. It's the most bizarre property line. The corner of my house is 18 feet from the property line, the back corner. So to look at something and to hear someone say, like, oh, let's take that 0.4 inches back and we'll encroach even more on what kind of privacy I'd have. Like, and I'm trying to put in perspective of, I don't have control. I can just share that this has been a property that we purchased because we were told it was gonna be wetlands, and we never had an anticipation that we would do anything or anybody else would. And so that was our something that we really treasured. And I just feel like I want to have a better understanding of how, I mean, we're stuck in a position if we can't, if this is gonna happen, and I know that decisions have been made, but if it's gonna happen, how is it that for us, if you see where the name of our, the address 153 Beach is written there, like, that's not where our house is. Our house is closer to the middle of that, and it's a much smaller footprint than what is going to be built right there. So I want to know, what does it mean by having a variance, and what does it mean, what's being asked about that? And I guess that was just the one question, because I want to have a understanding of what's happening.
Let me turn that over to Brika Lai, and I think she would be the best person to respond to that question.
So a variance is simply a relief or a waiver from local bylaw or regulations. I'd actually have the applicant present on their variance request, if that's okay with you, Chair Livingstone.
Sure.
Yeah, sure thing. So as of right now, we are proposing work within the 25 shown in pink and 50-foot shown in blue buffer zones, which necessarily require a variance from local regulations here. In this alternative, which is not our current proposal, but we wanted to talk about for the sake of discussion, the variance in this situation, we still require a variance from the wetlands bylaw because we're working in that 50-foot buffer zone. But in this case, we're moving the house closer to the property line, closer to your house. And we would also require a variance from the zoning bylaw. So we would have to go in front of the zoning board to seek relief on that front, as well as seeking relief from the Conservation Commission.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I was curious about like which variances. I knew what it meant, but I didn't know which specific ones were being requested. And it's just, it is just a large project right in our space. Like I won't have the. Tonight I was out looking at a raptor that was in the trees and just watching it try to pick off my mourning doves. It's like there was just so much that I'm afraid won't happen or won't be around anymore for. So.
Rika, did you have any additional comments?
Yeah, that actually is a good segue for me. So their variance request, this one, Renata, is posted online. It's in their original notice of intent packet, dated November 25th, 2024. So there are a couple of ways you can find that on our website, but the easiest way to find this older information is to actually go, if you're on desktop on the left-hand side, you'll see like current 2025 projects. This one would be in 2024 since it was submitted in 2024. You go in there, you'll see a hyperlink for each project. You click that hyperlink that says One Paddock, and then you'll have by date organized what documentation is there. So you can look at that, you can read their specific variance requests. Those variance requests, as Chris mentioned, correlate to our bylaws and regulations, which are also on our webpage. They are written in plain language, as Chair Livingstone had mentioned earlier. For the record and for transparency and everybody else, I do not expect everyday residents to understand the bylaws. It's not disrespect to you. It
was confusing.
Yeah, I'm sure. I hold all of the accountability, and Chris will nod his head at this, or he may not, on representatives. So I am much harder on representatives than I am on anybody else. So that's a good starting point. I definitely believe in independent research and all of us knowing what we're reading. So take a crack at that and come back to me if you need to. Okay. On that note, my only comment, and this popped in my head while we were reviewing this information. This is for the commission and for Chris, noting our regs here specific to section 4, where it breaks out our buffer zones and the preambles. There is a note in here that on 4.4 for the 50 to 100 foot buffer zone resource area, is that mitigation offsets may be required by the commission when the applicant proposes that more than 30% of the 50 to 100 foot buffer zone resource area is proposed to be impervious surface. That said, mitigation offsets may include, but not limited to, plantings, conversion of impervious to pervious, other practices. So my comment to Chris is, I don't know if you've considered that, if that's the reason why you're doing plantings, or if you're doing plantings because of the no touch. And then my comment to the commission is, well, you can start ruminating on that and perhaps thinking of creative ways to continue the discussion, if that's your purview, or it is your purview, if that's what you would like to do.
Absolutely, that's very good feedback. I think we are just slightly over that 30% threshold, which was why we had incorporated some stormwater management into the proposal. I don't know if the plantings had a specific item that they were addressing as a point of mitigation, but we're trying to incorporate vegetation where we can. So that's a good note. We'll go and do a little extra homework on section 4.4 there.
Perfect. And then if not, it would be a variance request.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned that variance request earlier that we had submitted with the initial filing. Yep. It probably needs an update with the current proposal.
Yes. Yep.
So I think that's all been very valuable feedback for us. We definitely have a lot to consider here. A couple of updated things to get back to you folks, and I believe with any luck, we'll have another beta letter in the coming week or so, maybe?
Yes, that's wrapped into the tomorrow, but let's see, if it's after 1 p.m., I'm sorry, Chris, no dice. So I'll have to wait till Monday.
Can I ask one question? I just want to ask for clarification on the term variance, because I think the variances that have been applied for, if I'm not mistaken, relate to the wetlands variances, and I think the abutter was referencing the variance in option 4 or proposal 4, which deals with the sideline
The
variance,
setback.
setback variance,
Yeah,
right?
setback is not the, right, so in the commission, right, we're looking at wetland boundaries.
Yes,
right?
yep.
So that would not be.
Totally outside
Yeah,
of this
not.
purview, but I just wanted to,
They are different things, yes.
they are,
Correct.
and
Correct.
I think the abutter was asking
Ah,
about the,
okay,
about the sideline variance, which is in option 4,
yep.
which
Yes.
does not belong,
That's a building code issue.
yes, does
As
not
opposed
belong
to
here, but
conservation
it,
issue, yes.
yes,
Different
but it,
board.
yeah, it will,
Different
it will impact her, though, the way she described it.
Yes, yes.
So,
Yes,
thank you.
Clarifications, yes.
If I may, is the lady who's called in, is the direct abutter, is this her roof that I see in gray? Close to the right-hand corner of the baseball plate? I mean, not the lot, the home I'm calling out, no disrespect. The baseball plate would be the home. In this picture, is that this?
I think she may have
Picture.
dropped it off.
Well, I don't, that's.
Nope, that is our home, that's our home.
Oh,
That-
there.
That's, and so the red line is, what you say, approximately 8 feet from your sideline? From your house?
No, the back corner of the
Yes,
house,
yes.
that's 18 feet, I
18
believe,
feet,
off
okay.
of the property line.
So
From there.
when the fellow spoke of the 40 feet to how the house was gonna be, the gentleman from Goddard, when he spoke of the 40 feet, he was speaking of the largest,
The most recent.
but
Yeah.
the largest point from your property line, would you say?
Right, right, and I understand that that's a different issue, that's a
Right,
zoning, I was just
because they're
curious
not
about the
concerned this board. I
variance.
get it, I'm sorry, I mean, I get it, but you know what I mean. So generally, do things go from the ZBA first to the conservation, or can they go either way?
It goes back and forth.
It can go back and forth.
Yeah, because we might come up with things which require them to then basically change the plans, but they have to then go back and get the changed plans reviewed and approved before they come back to us.
But they haven't 17.
But this plan has been changed a couple of times
Yeah.
through your board. Has it been through the ZBA even so much as once yet?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
That's only, that's
To
only.
the,
But typically they're
I'm
parallel
gonna-
processes.
Could I,
Yep.
I don't believe they're looking to go to ZBA. Chris had shown this option to show all the iterations. He's kind of starting back, as a previous consultant, I understand what he's doing. He's going back to the bare basics to say, these are all the things we've considered. This is why they're not feasible. So he showed this option, and and Chris, you correct me if I'm misremembering, but I believe you said the setback is too small, so that's why the house is in its current iteration.
Right, exactly. So we have 40-foot front and side setbacks to deal with. And you'll see this measurement point here goes from the property line to the corner of the house is just over 40 feet on all sides. Without a variance from the zoning board, and our understanding is that it's an unlikely variance for them to grant, especially with the proximity of the neighboring house to the property line. Without a variance from the zoning board, we cannot move this house closer to the property lines or the road.
if I may,
Yes.
through you to the gentleman?
Yep.
So, sir, in the back corner, how close is the back corner to the lady's home? Is that 18 feet or 40 feet?
Sorry, the back corner of what?
Of the right hand, looking at it as the back right-hand corner, I don't know north from south.
Of the proposed house,
Yes, sir.
that's 40 feet from the property line.
I think we're talking,
The back corner?
you know, all those measurements are relevant to the property line, not the other house. So one house is 18 feet from the property line.
Can I approach? Yeah, I don't have my glasses either.
See this? It's a little clearer.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's 40
So
and 6 inches.
are you able to see my cursor? Sorry.
And this is the house over here?
Yeah.
I would, commissioners, I would let Chris present from Goddard Consulting.
Good point.
Let him guide the discussion.
Yep, absolutely. So if we can see my cursor here on the screen, this corner of the proposed house is just over 40 feet from the property line.
Understood. Yep.
Now, this is not a plan of land of the neighboring property, but the adjacent house, which is not shown here, obviously, is about another 18 feet in this direction off of the property line.
50
So
50
this
feet.
corner of the house to the back corner of the neighboring house measures just under 60 feet.
Yeah, okay, yeah, right. Right. 40 feet on one side, 18 feet on the other, right,
But down a little bit further, like, because I don't think
right. Understood.
where the
Right, it's-
meeting is,
Understood.
that's
Yeah,
not
it's not
exactly
a,
where.
not a perfect line, correct.
Yeah, understood, yeah.
And it's because it's an oddly shaped lot, it cuts through, it cuts on a very sharp angle. So from where the garage, not the garage, from where the pole is that reads on the street level, cuts across, our home is like right kind of in that 100-foot buffer thing. So
Yeah.
it just cuts, it's an oddly shaped lot, and that's part of our, of the issue, but it's, I don't wanna bog down the meeting with that. I don't wanna take away anything that isn't appropriate for this meeting. I just really wanted to understand better what variances were being requested here and to kind of, I'm glad to see a picture of the house because some of the other, when you were sharing, in previous, submissions, there was the property line, but it didn't really show where we were in the midst of all of it as well. And not that that matters because we're talking about the wetlands and that to me is like of utmost importance. But I do understand that I may not be able to have that control. So I apologize for, I don't want to derail anything that is not appropriate for this meeting. So I appreciate everybody's time and definitely all of the care that you're taking with responding to questions and things.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions, guys?
I do have a couple.
Yep.
I would be interested to know what the total square feet of the house is. How many square feet are in the 25-foot buffer zone area? And how many square feet of the whole house is in the 50? 0 to 50.
Absolutely. Those are definitely numbers we can get for you.
And, because the way it sits right now, I could not be in favor of this. Thank you.
So Bricolai was talking about the 100-foot buffer and the 30%. But I would just like to point out that the 50-foot buffer in our bylaw says that any applicant proposing a project within the 25 to 50-foot buffer zone resource area shall indicate that there are no structures, including but not limited to concrete, stone, or other impervious foundations and/or slabs for construction. Alteration in the 25 to 50-foot buffer zone resource area is limited to grading, tree clearing. So really, 25-foot is no touch, but 50-foot is no build.
Absolutely, yep. And, you know, we understand the bylaw, buffer zone regulations. Obviously, we've had to request variance from those, and I think that has kind of been the crux of our conversation tonight.
So that is included in the variance, Michael, and that's a good catch, and I'm very glad that you're looking at those portions of the bylaws. The reason why I brought up the other one is because it hasn't been considered yet. So, and then to Commissioner Trahan's point, those numbers will help with those percentages.
Right.
So you're all moving in the right direction. And then I just had one comment, and I just want to make sure that everybody in the room understands the difference between a wetland and a buffer zone. Because the wetland, right, is the jurisdictional area. Yes, thank you, Chris. You've been doing very well with that. That's in that hatched blue, or that layer, that polygon right there. Everything else is buffer zone. So those are upland areas. Now, they're still subject to regulation. They're still subject to protection. They're still subject for work within there to be permitted. That is true. I just want to make it explicitly clear that there is a difference. So when anyone is talking about a project, saying filling wetlands or building on wetlands is a very different narrative than building on upland. Both are equally important. Both have their own function, but it is a different narrative. So that's all. It's just, I had to say it to correct the record and to educate and be a little technical.
Okay. Good. Anything else, guys? Anything else from the audience?
Can I just leave you guys with one note?
Yes?
And it's just quick. As I was getting ready for the meeting, I was sitting up on the deck and I was listening to peepers in the distance, which are off of Paddock Lane, and the barred owl was hooting in the woods, and it was just magnificent. So please try to do your best to save that.
Understood. Thank you. Any
Thank
other
you.
comments? Okay. There being none, take a motion to continue.
Carry a motion to continue the NOI for 1 Paddock Lane to April 3rd at 7:03.
Second,
Okay.
vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Continue?
Continue?
Continue.
Continue.
Continue. Thank you. Thank you for an excellent
Appreciate all the
discussion.
comments.
Guys, and thank you for coming.
Thanks, folks.
in.
Yeah, good
Thank you.
conversation.
Thank you for engaging. More engagement. Okay, I'd like to open up the next hearing, which is for the ANRAD for 444 East Central Street. Chris, did you want to talk a little bit about that or no?
Yeah, this is me. Just give me 1 second to switch gears. Okay, I got some things ready to go as needed. But again, for the record, Chris Frateroli with Goddard Consulting. I'm joined by the applicant, AJ Alavezos from the Alavezos Group, as well as the project engineer, Carlton Quinn from Allen and Major Associates. At the last public hearing that we had discussed this project, or sorry, this ANRAD 2 weeks ago, We had really kind of narrowed it down to 2 remaining issues that Beta had identified in their latest letter. We had talked about the existence of a fill pile, and we had provided some additional evidence, kind of noting historic aerial imagery as well as the presence of some large mature vegetation along that boundary, as well as non-hydric soils along that boundary as well, that we believe indicate that the isolated vegetated wetland that we were talking about at that point was not cut off from the BVW by a fill pile, but rather was probably more likely formed by that presence of that fill pile cutting off that natural surface flow towards the wetland. The other item that we had talked about was, obviously we have a FEMA flood zone A here without a defined base elevation. This was, has kind of been an unanswered question. So in order to kind of assign an extent to that floodplain, which is the resource area bordering land subject to flooding, we did both a little bit of ground truthing, a little bit of investigation, as well as some additional survey work. And we had discussed that at the last hearing. Basically, the way the regulations read is that if there is no FEMA data to support an elevation for the flood zone, the default extent of that 100-year floodplain is the greatest extent of floodwaters ever observed or recorded. So we had consulted with the property owner, Mr. Wayne Stobart, who, as we discussed last time, has been on that site most days for the last 70-ish years. And he had never observed the stream that bisects the site overtopping its banks. We had gone a little further and kind of ground truthed that by observing with survey instrumentation the elevation of kind of an impoundment a little bit further down in the wetland system where it flows through Northern Spy Road, and had identified that as kind of a controlling point for the wetland system as a whole. And now that road crest was surveyed at elevation 271. So our analysis had basically said, you know, combined with the observed and recorded fact that those streams have never overtopped their banks, and the fact that we believe that the Northern Spy Road crossing is kind of the elevation at which the flooding on this wetland system as a whole is limited to, we feel like providing that 271 contour as the BLSF extent is a pretty logical, accurate, regulatorily complete, and sensical way to approach that. And at that last hearing, the commission kind of went down the line, and we were under the impression that everybody was on board with that delineation as shown. So that was just kind of a recap of where we had been. We hadn't received any additional information from either Bricolai or Beta, kind of with regard to any of what we had talked about. And I think that we were expecting a vote on an ORAD this evening.
Brika, do you want to talk about the findings of facts?
Sure. Let me just pull them up, sorry. I had them, but they disappeared on me.
I don't understand.
You know, just one, while Brika's looking for that, you know, one thought on the floodplain, right? So I know we talked about this a bunch last week. Kind of a tough topic, right? Lack of information, but, you know, just kind of re-reviewing the information. We've got comments from DEP and Beta both, suggesting we look at a more detailed engineering analysis.
They want a model.
A model.
Hydraulic model.
Tough because, as we talked about, not inexpensive, but,
Yep.
you know, this is probably something that requires some further analysis. So a thought is that we could, you know, move through the ANRAD here and leave that particular approval downstream, so to speak, for the NOI. The thinking is that potentially we could go out and take a look at this. You know, one thing I'd say I didn't capture until I was looking at the Beta notes you do have 2 culverts upstream, right? Or I didn't really think about that when we were talking about this. One under East Central, and I think there's another on property, right? So you got choke points there. Understanding we're trying to be reasonable with the applicant, but it does seem like it's pretty important that we get this right. And, so at this point, we could move through the ANRAD, accepting that, so to speak, procedurally. That would allow the applicant and Chris and Goddard, they could still plan around that, and within that, no issue there. Give us time, so we don't want to hold up the process, but we could then go out, take a look at this, and have a little bit more eyes on it. So just a thought on that. And I know at the end, Chris, to your point, at the end of the last meeting, we seem to be heading the other way, but just in my own personal opinion, in retrospect, we're looking at all of it and having 2 recommendations, particularly from DEP, and we don't want to subject ourselves to having DEP supersede us, right? Because that's not going to help anybody. And they specifically asked or recommended that. So just a thought in that regard. Something to think about.
Okay.
So with all that,
if I could jump in real quick, this is AJ Alavisas with the applicant. The primary critical reason we did the ANRAD was to confirm the BLSF. Because it is the most subjective resource area on the site because we have no FEMA data. So we were really hoping to kind of figure this out together during the ANRAD. The information we've provided to date is compliant with the regulations. We cited the section of the regs that speaks to the analysis we did to confirm, to make an assumption on where the floodplain boundary is. And we were hoping that that would be sufficient, along with the analysis we presented last hearing, to be able to get the floodplain sorted out now. It's just a big unknown for us to go in the rest of this permitting process. We're beginning with zoning. We'd like to begin an NOI soon, once we get through this process, and having this hang out there would be a little problematic for us. So we were hoping that based on the last discussion from our last hearing, it seemed like we were all sort of generally on the same page with what we provided, and I'm not sure what's changed since then. I didn't see any new information provided by Beta. So that's kind of where we're at, and I understand where you're coming from with doing the modeling, but it's not a requirement per the regulations to do the modeling, unlike Beta suggested in their response to us in their comments. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, I mean, so good point, AJ. And certainly you've got the regulations, and you've also got the desire to have the commission make a decision that's going to stand up to public scrutiny, stand up to any kind of challenge we're going to face, right? I mean, our goal here is to do it right, but also to make sure we've got something that can hold. I mean, we've got a comment here from Beta that's pretty direct. The applicant has not provided sufficient information to confirm the extent of the BLSF at the site, and there's further detail. We've got something similar from DEP. Honestly, we all, us, the commission, you, the applicant, run the risk, where DEP gives us input, and this is always a roll of the dice, right? That we don't follow their direction and their requests. They could start wading in on this thing. Not that we're ever against, involvement from the Massachusetts DEP, but we'd rather, manage this ourselves if possible. So, what I would say, and, in my mind, for me, what's changed, the other commissioners can speak, just re-looking at the data, rereading the input, the tone of the comments, and just thinking about making sure we have a decision that can stick is what started getting me to think, boy, we ought to take a look at this. We're not saying we're against it, but it would be smarter at this point, in my opinion, if we all go out and take a look at this. I really thought about the 2 choke points upstream. It's just a lot of information to consider here. My opinion, we're kind of in a gray area, and we're just trying to make sure we're navigating it to the best possible outcome for all of us.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I understand. Chris, I would just say, would it help if we discussed this further now, where I could have Carlton Quinn of Allen and Major, who's our civil engineer, he and Chris have been working on this hand in hand to make sure that the elevation that we have proposed is a conservative assumption for the floodplain. I'm happy to have them present it in some more detail and see if this is something we can discuss today, and maybe provide some additional information at another ANRAD hearing before we conclude that the modeling is the direction we want to go. But I leave it up to the commission.
I would say we're always interested and open to hearing more, right? I mean, it's a sticky topic, so if there's more information to present, absolutely, let's take a peek at it and listen.
Yeah, well, we are certainly more than happy to walk through any and all of this. We don't have any new information, but I think kind of from my standpoint is in a strict reading of the regulations, it states that, in the event of a conflict of opinion, the commission may require an engineering analysis, which is certainly right, but I don't think that we've seen any information that would, provide a different opinion as opposed to what we've presented thus far. I think, the analysis that we've conducted up to this point, I think we've at least in our project team as we've concluded that it is definitely on the conservative side, we feel. So that, I think that's kind of my 2 cents on the topic. If we want to rehash the actual way that we got to this point, I'm more than happy to do so with Carlton.
Have you aware of the beta comments and the DEP comments?
Yes, absolutely. We're aware of them.
Could
but,
you,
we had,
you
sorry,
obviously take some umbrage with them. Could you give us some kind of, at some point in time, a rebuttal to those 2?
Well, I think that we've provided a fairly thorough analysis up to this point. And
we heard, yes, but they're very specific.
I mean, yeah, we got a DEP comment that says the boundary of the BLSF should be determined using procedures outlined in 310 CMR. I mean, that's a pretty direct comment from DEP, right? And Beta said the same thing. I mean, it was a decent analysis you guys did, but, we got 2, like I said, very direct comments recommending that we go through the engineering analysis.
This is Carlton with Allen Major. It does say, it goes on to say, shall be the maximum lateral extent of floodwater observed or recorded on the DEP comments, does it not? I think we're consistent with what they said.
Yep.
I don't think we're in conflict with what DEP said.
And then on what Beta said, Carlton, can you pull up our response to that, or Chris?
I could probably find it if you give me 1 second.
Well, Chris is looking, this is Carlton, just on the observed flooding, the road we're talking about is below 271 actually, although Chris said it was 271 to be conservative, and no one's ever observed that road flooded because it's the only entrance in and out of that property. And there were many abutters here that spoke on this project and have never noted that that street had been flooded. Just to back up some more information of outside of our property owner, other properties in this area are below 271 and no one has said anything about being flooded.
So I think for the purposes of this discussion, I'll go ahead and share this graphic again, which we had taken a look at. Just for clarity, this is kind of the road crossing we're talking about. This is Northern Spy Road. If this entire wetland system were to flood, it has to go out over top of this road. And that road crest there is just below 271, as Carlton had said. We feel like we provided a fairly robust analysis here, and my reading of the regs and Beta's comment suggests that, you know, the observed or recorded extent of floodwaters is the boundary of BLSF, unless there's another opinion. And we've been told that what we've done is insufficient, but we haven't been offered another opinion. I think that's kind of where our position lies at this point. A rebuttal to what we've proposed at this point, we're all ears and we're happy to hear it, and we're happy to follow that route. We just feel as though there hasn't been a conflict of opinion here.
So,
And just to touch on that, Chris, can you please read what the regulations say, 310 CMR 1057?
Yeah, I have it right here, actually. Let's see. So this is obviously not the full text, but this is the first phrase of 10.572A3, is that where national flood insurance profile data is unavailable, which is the case here, the boundary of BLSF shall be the maximum lateral extent of floodwater which has been observed or recorded. This is the same section that goes on to say, in the event of a conflict of opinion, to be sure. But this is the kind of default presumption before we get to the point of requiring engineering calculations.
So we seem to be hinging on a issue with what conflict of opinion defines. So question for Bricolai, you know, would it be possible to clarify with Beta how they've got a recommendation here. I think the contention from Goddard, and I'm not disputing it, but what I'm hearing is that they view that as not they view that recommendation to, or the comment that sufficient information has not been provided is not a conflicting opinion, quote unquote. So, right, and that, so that,
I mean,
seems to be parsing
as
pretty
the third
thinly.
party to this, I would say that's a conflict. You have someone saying it's sufficient, you have someone saying it's
Okay.
insufficient. Not for the south, but for the north.
Yeah, okay.
So,
You kinda,
I mean, just by definition, you have, right?
all right. That's how I was kind of looking at it, but,
Yeah, I interpreted that, so we have a conflict here, and I think the reg says we need to start looking at, sharpening the
So,
pencils and.
just to kind of keep the ball rolling real quick. Couple things. So AJ, I heard you on needing to determine BLSF. I understand that from a building perspective. Think about it. I'm going to say it. You ruminate on it, and I want the commission to digest and also ruminate on what they just heard. You know, you can still get issued an ORAD if the commission deems that, and you would just have to look at BLSF for that northern confluence. We are starting to get into the wet season. I don't know what Carlton you could do for hydraulics. I don't know if the commission would require you to do hydraulics. I don't know if you can split it up between north and south. I do know that stream incisors on the property and then expands again. So I don't know if there are opportunities to be had to find a middle ground. I do know, AJ, that the commission could feasibly vote on an ORAD and then just have BLSF be conditioned for a later date. That is up for you to decide if that works for your project schedule.
Just to clarify on that last point, Bricolai, for confirming BLSF at a later date, would that be done during the NOI process?
right.
Correct.
Okay. And is it safe to say there has not been a conclusion by either the commission or Beta that a hydrology modeling study is required or needed?
Correct. Yeah, the proposal was, AJ, that we go out and do a site visit and take a look at it.
Have you?
Yeah, so Beta can't make decisions for the commission. they provide recommendations. Or they just provide technical feedback, really under the Wetlands Protection Act more than bylaw regs. I'm the part that gets sucked in for bylaw and regs. So, but they have it on record for, as a peer review, saying it's insufficient.
From just from a project schedule standpoint, as you commented, just to give a little color on that, it's gonna take us probably a minimum of 2.5 to 3 months to complete this modeling study. So to do that, it's going to take us some time. So if I don't want to get to a point in our project schedule where we're ready to sort out the notice of intent and we've filed and we don't have that study started yet, and then we have to wait until that's done. So I want to be mindful that I'm not holding up the rest of the project with getting that getting the study done. The site plan we've submitted to the zoning board obviously assumes what we've shown in our current assumption for the floodplain. So I don't want to get too far down the line with this still hanging out there, and then with the NOI process, it's delayed because we're doing this study. So that's all. Is just I wanted to bring that up.
Question: have you guys talked with Beta about their conclusions and tried to convince them the error of their ways?
We have not had a work session yet.
Oh.
And I would caution you saying, correcting Beta on the error of their ways. We have work sessions.
I was being facetious.
And we collaborate with all of our bright minds.
No, the last correspondence we had was we submitted a response to Beta's comment, and we offered some information explaining why, further information as to what we've been just going over, and we didn't hear back from Beta since that last submission. So based on that and based on the conversation we had at the last hearing, we were under the assumption that this issue was sorted out. So that's all. I think we just were not under the impression that this was going to be something that was still on the table. That's all. That's kind of where we're coming from tonight.
Nikolai, would it make sense to sit down with Beta and maybe one or two of us to talk about this particular topic?
I mean, if the commission would like to host a work session, that's fine. We can do that. Not receiving a letter, AJ, that's on me, since I figured at this point we were on the way for the commission to make the final decisions. So I had responses from Beta, I had responses from you, now it's up to the commission. So it does also, save time, and time is money. So that's why you didn't get another letter.
So one other thought, I mean, just maybe going around the horn, obviously I've voiced some opinion here, but this is just me. I mean, what is everybody else thinking here?
The last session, I had concerns, and I brought that up.
Okay.
So I am on board with what you said.
Continue going around.
Right.
I think this is gonna be looked at by a lot of citizens in town, and we wanna make sure that we can back up what we go along with here.
Okay.
I'd just like to understand why doing a survey of just from gravity, if the bridge is the lowest point and then they have surveyed all the way around at 271, how is that not good enough? I don't understand the science behind it.
Well, the water seeks its own level, so
Yeah.
if it's got to get over at 271, that's all the higher it's going to get, unless there's some hydraulic pressure to get it over there.
But that's what they're saying, so why is that
Well,
not good enough? That's
Personally,
what
I
understand.
kind of like what the engineer said, but
So I think, the response to that is, you've got the information you just described presented by Goddard. We've had both Beta and DEP come back and say that their recommendation is to ask for more, right? I mean, there's some nuances there. You can parse different parts of the responses, you know, difference of opinion, conflict of opinion. I mean, we kind of got hung up on that. But, you know, I mean, where I was coming from, since I brought this up, is I read two very direct comments, one from Beta, our third-party reviewer, and another from DEP, that this should be investigated further. So
rigorous minds.
Yeah, and so that's where I was coming from on this. Wasn't a matter of whether something was good enough or not. We got some very strong recommendations. Again, to Roger's point, in my mind, I want to help make a decision that we know is going to stand up, right?
I do too.
Right, and doing the right thing. I certainly am not in favor of making things difficult, time-consuming, or expensive, but I don't want to sacrifice doing the right thing just for expediency and run into problems for all of us downstream, right? I think that's our job, is to help protect the applicant, town, residents, everybody.
Doesn't the DEP thing under Zone A, 100-year floodplain exist? Is the event of a conflict of opinion, the commission may require engineering calculations be provided following.
Yeah, it's agreed. I mean, theirs is not as direct as Beta, right? You know, they reinforce that extent of BLSF to be determined with topographic survey, the boundary determined using procedures outlined at 310, you know the verbiage, right? It's kind of that sentence, again, recommending that we fall back on that. But they do mitigate it a little at the end by saying, you know, to Chris's point, the maximum lateral extent of floodwater observed or recorded. So they're not as direct, I would say, as Beta, right? Beta's comment was, the applicant has not provided sufficient information confirming the extent of the BLSF, right? That's pretty direct, right? All this stuff is public record, right? Again, this is a discussion, right? I went back, I'm looking at this stuff, I'm thinking about the situation on the ground there and have concerns. But that's, you know, that's.
No,
And I'm not trying to convince you, I'm just kind of giving you where
I do too. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering why they're saying that. Not questioning, but they are saying that.
Yeah.
Just what's.
So, sorry, if I may jump in just to try and mitigate or translate what Beta says. Unfortunately, they're not here tonight, but it's the northern confluence. So you have multiple culverts coming down.
Right.
So my understanding is that it's not south of the access drive culvert in the middle bisecting the property there. Chris, I don't know if you can share your screen.
Yeah, I can grab it real quick.
Thank you. It's the multiple culverts north of that.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
So if you look at the general shape of the stream, yeah, so thank you. So
Yeah,
you have
so,
this-
yeah.
Yeah, you can show where it is, that's fine.
So this is that central culvert, I think,
Yes.
that we're talking about here. I think the reason that we had kind of limited it to this southern portion of the stream is because the FEMA Zone A cuts off in about this area. I think that was kind of the logic behind it. But, you know, I think just to kind of to go back a second and to Commissioner Johnson's point, I just would like to be clear here that obviously the language is the commission may require that engineering analysis to be done. I would just like to be clear, is the commission requiring that of us at this point? And then we can discuss whether or not we want to do it under an ANRAD or wait till the NOI stage, but I just would like to have that clear.
So the proposal, Chris, was not to make that decision now, but we can talk about that if you guys want a decision, but to push that decision down to part of the NOI process and for us to go out and take a site walk and look at the culverts. That not a proposal, that was a suggestion, right?
Understood. So more so to kind of attempt to understand it a little better in the interim, and then actually make a decision on that at the NOI stage.
Yeah, I think, and one of the things that Rika Lai suggested as sort of a compromise position to keep things open for the discussion downstream was to go ahead with the NRAD, but simply attach the findings of fact to that, just to make a note that those exist. And so that acts as a basis for us to go out and do further investigation before the NOI is filed. I think that's a reasonable compromise, given some of the concerns that we have and the unanswered questions that we have at this time. And so it allows you to continue, it allows us time to go out and do additional investigation.
Absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. So I think I would kind of, at this point, I would defer to AJ as to whether or not we wanted to close out the NRAD proceedings with the finding of fact as such, or if we wanted to kind of keep this going and see if we could get it sorted out.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't hear what was said before you just spoke, Chris. When you said that, I think that makes sense. Could you please?
Yeah, I'll respond. So that the proposal that we're coming up with is to go ahead and approve the ANRAD, but to effectively attach, as on the record, the findings of fact to the ANRAD such that it exists in the record. And so the idea was it allows you to continue and to do the planning, but then it also gives us time before the NOI is filed to go out and do additional further investigation, to look into this a little bit closer. And then and then we get to the NOI process. And basically at that point, right, we basically come to a better understanding as to whether or not additional engineering calculations should be done.
Okay.
That would be a compromise position.
Question. Do you think we could, and Carlton and Chris, I wish I could kind of be able to talk to you guys about this before I even bring it up, but could we add to the findings of fact that we're in agreement on the BLSF south of the confluence, as Beta stated, and therefore the only portion of the floodplain that is in question still that we will handle in the NOI phase is north, because they state that while the base flood elevation established by the applicant appears generally accurate downstream of the site and closely correlates with FEMA data for the map zone A, then there's a deviation, they believe, between the data sets north of the confluence. Not sure what data sets they're talking about, but could we identify a portion of the floodplain that it seems like peer reviewer is on the same page with us on in the ANRAD and the ORAD?
I do think it is true. It's the northern portion. Yes. Breakup?
Yes, it is. It's north of the confluence. And
yes,
AJ, I can make those changes.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's yeah. I would rather be actually more precise. I think that's a good idea.
And then all of the, just for commission's knowledge, all of the peer review letters and back and forth get bundled into the ORAD.
Right.
In the interim, if there is leftover funds, AJ, would you like to schedule still a work session?
Yeah, I think that's
prior to subsequent filing of notice of intent with Beta?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I think that probably works well for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will email tomorrow, Chair Livingstone, Vice Chair Mark Page, and then Chris, AJ, and I can also invite you to Carlton if you would like.
Perfect. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great. So I think that's really helpful for us, at least to get halfway confirmed in terms of moving forward with planning. So
Yes.
I think we're in agreement that the 271 contour to the south of this crossing right here, we're in agreement on that extent. It's the northern portion of the site that we are not making a finding for.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Sounds good.
Correct.
Beautiful. I think that works well for us.
Yeah, guys, does everyone feel comfortable with that? Yes. Good.
Well, I have a question now.
Yeah.
So if we do have to do the hydrology modeling study, and it proves out that the floodplain elevation is actually lower than elevation 271 to the south of the confluence, would we be, not the right word, but would the floodplain elevation at 271 be stuck at 271 because that's what's in the ORAD? Or would it be revised and a lower elevation based off the modeling?
Oh, I don't know. I thought,
So generally, it would likely stay. I know from other projects, DEP doesn't necessarily like revising ORADs. I don't know in this case if it is something of a benefit to revise an ORAD. Usually I've seen them say no to revising ORADs when it's in the favor of an applicant, and in your instance, it wouldn't be in your favor if it's a lower elevation. So,
I meant the other way.
I see.
Well, either way, yeah. I think it sounds to me like the answer is, for all practical purposes, we should assume, yes, it would be stuck.
It would be stuck, and AJ, ultimately, the commission is the final authority on that. There is an appeal period, which is where anybody, including DEP, can appeal it, but feasibly by that time, it's outside of the appeal period.
Right.
So it is up to the commission to decide that. So if the commission is saying south of the confluence to the property boundary, flowing toward Northern Spy Road, if that is the BLSF that is approved, that's the BLSF that is approved.
Correct.
So what are the action items here? So one, we're gonna have a meeting scheduled between Beta and Goddard to review both their sides, so they can discuss and see where they can come into somewhat of a agreement. Two,
Yep.
are we talking about site visit as far as, or is that an option for us to do that?
I would suggest that the site visit occur once the notice of intent is filed,
Correct.
and then you'll have to post it as a meeting.
Yep.
So I just kind of want to see what can move us forward on this one. Just my comments on this one. More information is better information. Just because Vice Chair Mark was saying that, we got to get this right. We want to get this right. Especially you're putting development or proposing developments in this area.
It's also a very, very public and very hot project.
Well, you're crossing, it's in the middle on both sides. You have the development, proposed developments. In the middle, you have a stream. So really, it would be beneficial to kind of look at everything, make sure that we're, covering all the information, and that's the way it looks to, you make sound decisions and proceed with sound engineering as well to have all that data. So.
Yes.
Richard?
Anything?
I've said my piece.
Okay, all right. Any other comments? Anybody from the audience or online? Okay, so I guess we're voting to, motion will be approved.
I need to read the findings of fact
Okay,
first,
sorry.
but I was trying to find the coordinates for that culvert.
Just to close the loop, we are amenable to having language added to the findings of fact, confirming agreement on the floodplain elevation of 271 in the areas that Beta noted in their letter that they agree with.
Okay.
So we are amenable to that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, AJ. Thanks, Chris.
And I appreciate you guys considering that, adding it to the findings of fact. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I have then, sorry, I had to add some stuff. All right, so findings of fact, I'm gonna have to read for a little bit, sorry guys. For 444 East Central Street, map 284, lot 66, Franklin, Massachusetts, order of resource area delineation. under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and Regulations and Town of Franklin Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations, DEP file number 1591306. List of submittals for the record, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for 444 East Central Street, Franklin, MA 02038, prepared for Tag Central LLC, 275 Regatta Drive, Jupiter, Florida 33477, by Goddard Consulting LLC, 291 Main Street, Suite 8, Northborough, Mass 01532, dated November 26, 2024. LIP application plans, one sheet, sheet 1, within peer review response 021325, 5 sheets, prepared for Tag Central LLC, address listed previously, by Allen and Major Associates, 100 Commerce Way, Woburn. Is that how you pronounce that? Massachusetts 01801, stamped by Carlton M. Quinn, PE number 49923, dated January 2nd, 2025, with a scale of 1 inch equals 40 feet. ANRAD plan, one sheet, sheet 5, within peer review response 021325, 5 sheets, prepared for Tag Central LLC, address listed previously, by Allen and Major Associates, address listed previously, stamped by Andrew J. Ruggles, PLS number 58014, dated November 26, 2024, revised for February 10th, 2025, with a scale of 1 inch equals 60 feet. Peer review letters from Beta Group, Inc., 89 Shrewsbury Street, Suite 300, Worcester, Mass. 01604, dated January 31st, 2025, and February 24th, 2025. And peer review response letters from Goddard Consulting, LLC, address previous, dated January 2nd, 2025, February 13th, 2025, and February 27th, 2025. Resource areas under MGL 131, Section 40, 310 CMR 10, and covered under the Franklin Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 181, and associated regulations. This ORAD approves of the delineation of the resource areas series flags as drafted on the ANRAD plan, dated November 26, 2024, revised February 10th, 2025, with a scale of 1 inch equals 60 feet, incorporating revisions reflecting the Franklin Conservation Commission, Franklin Conservation Department, and Beta Group, Inc. Review comments from review comment letters from Beta Group, Inc. dated January 31st, 2025, February 24th, 2025. This is the good part now. So findings, 1, isolated vegetated wetland, freshwater wetland flag series, GCB1 to GCB15, GCC1 to GCC22, and GCD1 to GCD31. Bordering vegetated wetland, freshwater wetland flag series, GCA1 to GCA109, and GCE1 to GCE9. Bank/mean annual high water to establish riverfront area flag series, GCMAHW. Oh my gosh, Chris. A1 to A30, B1 to B19, C1 to C107, and D1 to D4. And bordering land subject to flooding south of confluence referenced in Beta peer review letter dated February 24th, 2025. Coordinates -71.377480, 42.078607 at elevation 271. Modified delineation. This ORAD does not approve flags located outside of the site boundaries, nor any land under water bodies and waterways. And limits of BLSF north of the confluence, coordinates -71.377480, 42.078607 are not determined under this ORAD. Limits of BLSF north of the confluence, coordinates just referenced, shall be determined upon subsequent filing of the notice of intent.
Furthermore,
I think that's all of them.
So with that, I'll give you a motion to approve the ANRAD for 444 East Central Street with findings of fact as stated.
Second.
Okay.
Vote to approve.
Vote to approve.
Vote to approve.
Approve?
Approve?
Approve.
Approve?
Okay. There you go. Thank you, guys.
Chris and AJ, thanks for
Thanks.
being flexible and working with us on it.
Hanging in there. Thanks for hanging in there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, folks. Likewise, we appreciate you working with us as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Have a good night.
Certainly.
Right.
Okay, before it's done, okay, so now we open up the next public hearing, which is the NOI for 7 Charles River Drive. Is there anyone here from 7 Charles River Drive or online?
Yes, I'm here, Karen Skinner-Catroni, representing the owners of 7 Charles River Drive.
Karen, okay, great. And I have here that there were some of the revised materials were added, yes? We received some
Yes, so
materials.
I, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, the materials were received 13th, but we did not receive a revised plan until the 19th, correct?
Correct.
So the only change to the plan was the proposed and existing, Rick Lee wanted broken up. The engineer had the flu, so we did get that in a little late, but other than that, there's been no changes to the plan. And all of the material was submitted prior to that, before the deadline.
Just to confirm with the commission, it was similar to previous project, impervious versus pervious numbers per buffer zone had to be shown on the plan.
Okay.
So they were shown on the plan, but you wanted it broken up, existing versus, so the number was shown on the plan.
Yep, yep. So that's referenced in our regulations. It had to be broken up per buffer zone. And then what's existing versus proposed. So you can infer that percentage, which is a conversation we had earlier today. So I do defer to the commission. The commission has been pretty adamant on that week deadline for all materials.
Well, okay, it says here that the review is still ongoing though, anyway. Is that correct?
I mean, I haven't had a time really to dig down into that plan.
Okay.
We could do it now if you wanted to have that exercise, but
No, I don't. We're already at 9:07.
well, in that case, it should be a relatively light lift, and then I would anticipate approval recommendation at the next meeting.
All right,
Yeah, let's,
fine, let's do that.
let's stick with our timeline.
Yep. Okay. Is there anyone else online or in the audience has any questions or comments about 7 Charles River Drive?
This is Ted Harrington. I'm the homeowner. I just want to be explicitly clear on what needs to be done before the next meeting, because we left the last meeting stating that everything was in that needed to be in, except that it hadn't been received by the deadline. So I'm just not sure I'm clear on what else is needed so that we can work with Karen and whoever else to make sure that we're not here in 2 weeks again for the 5th time going through the same continuation.
Yeah, I think it's a question
Sure.
of it's just giving people adequate time for reviewing internally, especially with the lack of staff that we have right now. And it's for real, I mean, conservation is really, really impacted by this. So, but Bree, please add your comments.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, Ted, at the last meeting, I actually didn't have everything that I needed. I had stated that I completed a site visit, but there were still several items that I needed from Karen. They were the same items that I had outlined actually at the previous meeting when I read through our bylaws and regs of things that I still needed. So I did send an email the day after or Monday after the meeting asking for those outstanding information. So that was, we are at March 20th now. Oh, of course, my calendar wouldn't show up. So
So
that
it was
email
stated,
went
it
out.
was stated, I'm
Hold
sorry,
on,
it was stated at the last
Hold on, Karen.
meeting.
Right, Karen?
Yeah.
Please let me finish, thank you.
Go ahead.
So I actually hadn't written out anything. I had only just done my site visit on March 5th. I had given you preliminary comments at the previous meeting based on my review. I said I was going to finalize based on my site visit, which was on March 5th, at the March 6th meeting, that I would be sending you an email. I sent that March 10th, Karen, I sent that March 10th. You got everything, most everything to me on March 13th. You told me that the plan was going to be late after the submission deadline. I have that from you.
I did, yes, I did.
I ran that by the chair, and unfortunately, the commission has a submission deadline. So I'm saying now, thank you, yep, received. The commission has a deadline. If you would like to take it up with them, you may take it up with them and the chair. But we have everything posted of when things are due.
I understand that, but the only change made to that plan was, the number wasn't changed. It was still 20.95. That number was not changed. The only thing that was changed was the breaking up of the, proposed and existing.
Sure, so
So
that was
you want, you,
information I still needed.
so your regulations say you require a variance if it's over 30%. It wasn't over 30% then, it isn't over 30% now. There's no variance required, the number hasn't changed.
I don't think that's what's at issue, Karen. I think it's the timing of when we got that information, right?
So I can't verify it.
Right.
I didn't have
Regardless-
time to verify.
Regardless of how de minimis you feel it is, you know, we still have to look at it. We get a lot of information previous to each meeting. That's why we set a deadline. We've got a finite amount of resources. It came in after the deadline, right? I mean.
Well, okay, you can stop being nice. Karen, you can take it up with me. You can take it with me no, seriously. You can take it up with me one-on-one, okay? I said on at least five occasions, I said at the beginning of this year, I was gonna be a hard ass about deadlines, because too many people were really, really abusing the system and coming in and throwing things over the transom at the last minute or late and asking for special provision. And I said, that's going to stop. I don't care. Okay? I said that, again, 5 times in these hearings. We're not doing it anymore. That's it. And that was before we lost our staff. Okay? So, no. Get things in on time by 1 o'clock the week before. That's it. Period. Okay? Do I make myself understood? We are not doing
Clearly,
this
yes.
anymore. We are
Very
not
clearly, yes.
doing this anymore. No. None. Thank you. Now.
So Ted, to your question, we'll review the information that was submitted and you know, hopefully there's no issues and we're able to move through it next meeting. But we still have to look at the information.
Hopefully, yes, yep.
Yep, so it's not.
Thank you. I've learned more about East Central Street and Paddock Lane in these last four meetings than I would never know. Never ever want to know behind them each of the last 4 meetings. So I appreciate it.
All right. Cool.
Welcome to your town, Ted. Welcome to Franklin.
All good. Thank
All
you.
right.
Do you have any other questions or comments?
Definitely not.
Okay, anybody online or in the audience? No? Okay, then we'll take a motion to continue.
I'll give you a motion to continue the NOI for 7 Charles River Drive to April 3rd at 7:04 PM.
Second that.
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Continue.
Continue?
Continue?
Continue.
Continue.
Thank you. Now let's move on to the next.
Thank you, have a good night.
Thanks,
you.
Karen.
Now, let's move on to the next hearing, which is the ANRAD for 47 Parker Street. Is there anybody online or in the audience for 47 Parker Street? Then I have a motion here that
No.
people are.
Yes.
Rick is here.
Here.
Oh, Rick,
Hello,
okay.
Rick.
Hey, Rick.
Hey, Rick.
Good evening. I too have had quite my fill of the previous hearings. Very interesting.
Do you want to come work in Franklin Conservation, Rick?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to come work with Franklin Conservation, Rick?
I
Which
think
is
I'll
probably
pass.
uncouth. It's a joke. I'm not trying to get into any ethics issues.
Yeah, I know you're kidding. So for the record, Rick Goodrow with the United Consultants, just here to follow up on the last hearing and find out what the status of the review by Beta and the commission's agent is on this project.
Yep, so a site visit occurred, sorry, Chair Livingstone, I was just gonna jump in. Site visit occurred, it's in the bundle of things that are set to come out tomorrow.
I'm sorry, a site visit occurred?
Mm-hmm, yep.
When was that?
That was 27 Partridge, I believe March 10th.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, yep, March 10th.
All right, because I had sent 2 emails requesting that we be notified of the site visit so we could notify the homeowner.
I know, I did, I sent it to you and they door knocked.
I did not receive an email.
I Yeah, I sent it to your UCI850.com email, Monday, March 7th, or March 10th at 7:56 a.m.
Okay,
But the homeowner was present, and so Beta went and door knocked, and then they had a conversation, and they were admitted access.
okay. All right. So the site visit has been completed. Any idea on a time frame of the review?
Tomorrow. Yep, it's in the bundle of letters set to come out tomorrow.
Okay,
Okay.
very good.
Any other questions, guys?
Nothing here.
Any other, is there anyone online or in the audience who has any questions or comments about 47 Partridge Street? Okay, there being none, I'll take a motion to continue.
I'll give you a motion to continue the ANRAD for 47 Partridge Street to April 3rd at 7:05.
Second that?
I'll vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Vote to continue?
Continue.
Continue?
Continue.
Continue.
Thank you very much. Continue. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, thanks.
Thanks, Rick.
We'll move on to the next hearing, which is the NOI for 100-102 Panther Way.
Actually, not.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, do not open. Sorry, I haven't read that after the fact. Sorry, ignore those, please ignore that. Okay, go to that one. So now I'd like to open up the hearing for the NOI for 151 Grove Street. Do we have anyone online or in the audience for 151 Grove Street?
I am here.
Michael.
I'm sneaking around tonight. Yeah, we submitted a continuance request in the afternoon today, but I wasn't sure if Brika Lai had received it, and so I wanted to appear tonight just in case.
Okay.
And so we are requesting continuance. Just a quick follow-up, following the last project's footprint. Any idea on when a peer review might be received? Is it coming out tomorrow?
Yes.
Just the package? Perfect.
Yes.
The big package comes tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay,
Excellent. Thank you. That's all I have.
okay.
Thanks, Michael.
And he's aware of the DEP comments, or there is a DEP comment, yes, he knows this? You guys know?
Yes, yeah, about the test
Yeah,
pits,
okay,
yes.
all right, okay. All right, so we're just waiting for the review, okay. Any other questions, you guys? No? Okay, continue.
Anything from the public? No?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Is there anybody online or in the audience has any questions or comments about 151 Grove Street?
All right, give you a motion to continue the NOI for 151 Grove Street to April 3rd at 7:06.
I'll second that and vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Continue.
Continue?
Continue?
Continue.
Continue.
Continue. Thank you very much,
And we
guys.
have an approval.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Now we'll open up the next hearing, which is the NOI for 16 Hemlock Lane. Is there anyone present in the audience or online for 16 Hemlock Lane?
Yes. Hi, my name is Susan MacArthur from MacArthur Environmental Consulting. In the audience are the applicants, John and Samantha Prunier. So at the last hearing, they continued just because Brika Lai didn't have her comments, her review done yet, but since that time we got her review comments and have responded to them on time. The first one, I'll just go through them briefly. The stormwater basin on the east side of the property wasn't delineated just because, I just figured it was a man-made stormwater basin and not regulated, but apparently it is. So with Brika Lai's permission, we used GIS and showed the approximate limits of the basin as well as the buffer zones offset from that going toward the property. Secondly, I think somebody on the commission at the first hearing asked about the dry well that was being proposed within the regulated 50-foot buffer zone. And excuse me, I'm sorry, outside of the 50-foot buffer zone, but within the 100-foot buffer zone. So we are proposing a Cultec 330 XL HD, and it has been sized for a 1-inch storm event. It can accommodate 54 cubic feet of volume, and this particular Cultec system is can hold 79.26 cubic feet of volume, so ample, more than enough to handle the roof runoff from the new addition. And by the way, it is on the plan. There is a detail on the plan that shows that. Next, erosion controls. Just a note, they'll be left in place post-construction until the conservation director signs off on the removal of them and everything has been stabilized. I did notify abutters with certified green cards. I did provide proof of mailing of those. 2 of the letters were never picked up, but I do have the receipts for those. And then lastly, we have requested a variance for work in the 25-foot buffer zone, and there's approximately 10.57 square feet of permanent impacts and about 60 square feet of temporary impacts within the buffer zone. And that is due to the installation of the helical piles, which will support the new addition and deck, and as well as the small concrete base pad that the stairs off the deck will come down and meet on the ground. And then the temporary work is just to get the equipment out there to develop the piles. And I think that is it.
Okay. Briegel, do you have any additional?
You're looking at me, thank you. No, I would just recommend approval with standard special conditions. I can go through those, and then for the residents and the audience, I'll actually explain what each one is very quickly.
Yep, that's a good idea, thank you.
Okay, so like I said, recommend approval with standard special conditions. 20 erosion control barriers, you just have to install them with the limit of work, which you have shown. 22 to 30, those ones speak to making sure you have an as-built plan. You don't need written conformance reports, I'm sorry. Let's do 22 and then 24 to 30. So I'll start again, 20, 22 as-built plan, 24 work performed according to the plan, 25 referencing order of conditions. That just means anybody on site has to have the order of conditions in hand. 26 provision of plans and order of conditions, along the same vein. 27 approved changes, so the commission has to approve any changes, all standard. 28 notification prior to work. You just need to give me 7 calendar days before you start. Notice 29, right to impose additional conditions. That just allows the commission, gives them the right to impose additional conditions. 30, errata changes, similar to 29. Special conditions 34 to 41. So 34, no straw bales. 35, stockpile maintenance. If you just have some stockpiling, I am imagining you won't, but even if it's just some rock structure, just make sure that you're having good husbandry of that, your little piles. Don't just chuck them in the wetland, please. 36, cleaning vehicles. I don't know if anybody is going to be mobilizing in the backyard. Just make sure that it's not, that it's clean vehicles, right? No invasives in. You can take invasives out, that's fine. 37, remedy upon problem identification. If there's an issue, it's up to you to make sure that you fix it immediately and let me know. 38, barriers as limit to work. So you have your limit of work already demarcated, which I know you have everything spray painted where everything is going to go, which is nice too. 39, limit of work marked. That's pretty easy. 40, no construction materials. Obviously disposed within the wetland. 41, inspections and disposal of sediment. So that, again, I don't know what you're ultimately bringing in for fill, or if you'll need some other things, especially for that system. So just make sure that it's being properly maintained and taken care of. 44, removal of barriers. So similar to what Susan just mentioned, those barriers stay in place until sign off for COC. And then 46 through 51, 46 stockpile location. So again, if you do have a small stockpile or a stockpile, make sure that it's preferably on your driveway, even if that is within the 100-foot buffer zone. I know most of your house is in the buffer zone. So just make sure that it's on flat, maintained areas. Removal of sediment, it's very similar. No refueling, so don't, you wouldn't. These are worst case scenario things, but don't bring 10 gallons of gasoline and try to fill whatever small vehicle you have in your backyard. You don't do that on the driveway. Same thing with emergency repairs, 50 leaks and spills. If something does happen, please give me a call. And then 51 is building permit sign off.
And just again, for the applicants, just so you guys know, so the commission in that same vein is trying to prepare materials for people to, right? We have this handy dandy table, but behind the table of all of the special conditions, what we've done is we've actually gone through each one of them and made descriptions of which each one of them are. So you can download this from the website, very handy to have.
Well, they'll get it too in their approval.
Yes, that's true. Just
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
For everyone at home, if you're interested, you can download and have something to read. Okay. So unless there's additional questions or comments from the audience or online about this project, we will take a motion to approve with the conditions as stated.
I'll give you a motion to approve the NOI for 16 Hemlock Lane with the standard special conditions as stated.
Second that.
Vote to approve.
Vote to approve.
Vote to approve.
Approve?
Approve.
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 Thank you.
Thanks for working with us, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Go
it.
to work.
Thank you for hanging in there until 9:30.
Appreciate you being volunteers.
Okay. Yeah. Where was that? Where did we say? Where's that coffee machine in the background?
That's a hell of an idea.
Yeah, I'm bringing one in. Seriously. Okay.
Is a barista part of the new staff?
Yeah. Tyler. Hey. Okay. So I'd like to open up the next hearing, which is the NOI for 50 Constitution Boulevard. And I have a note here that we have not received yet a DEP number. Is that correct, Reply?
No, actually, I believe we have.
Okay, we have.
Since then.
Okay, all right.
But all the same, the stormwater review fee, which planning board is handling, but we're piggybacking off of them for stormwater review. We still need it to be paid for.
Okay. Is there anyone here?
As a town, and the site visit did occur.
Okay.
I have no comments on the delineation. Sorry, what was that?
Is there anyone in the audience or online for 50 Constitution Boulevard?
Yep, Brendan Reale from Atlantic Design Engineers.
All right, you guys know that we haven't received the payment yet, right?
Yep, we found that out the other day. I know that the applicant has reached out to the planning board and that is getting figured out. We did receive data comments that we're working through, but I understand that they obviously need to get paid before they are going to provide responses to any letter that we provide. So we are actively working through that, and both the payment and the review letter that Beta provided, and we hope that's going to be resolved early next week.
Okay, all right. Okay. Questions? Okay. Then, unless there's anything else, I will take a motion to continue.
Give me a motion to continue the NOI for 50 Constitution Boulevard to April 3rd at 7:07.
Second. Vote to continue.
Vote to continue.
Continue.
Continue?
Continue?
Continue.
Continue.
Okay.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Okay. We are at the end, the last one. Oh, there is light. Okay, so now I'd like to open up the last public hearing, which is the NOI for 55 Milliken Avenue. And I have a note here saying that we did receive the fee. and Beta is continuing to review. Is there anyone here for 55 Milligan, either online or in the audience?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Rick Goodrow with United Consultants.
Rick. Okay.
And I just wanted to say we had sent in a continuance request this afternoon.
Okay.
We had basically the project proponent had not filed the fee payment until yesterday. So that's now been done, and obviously Beta did not have an opportunity to begin their review. So that's why we had requested the continuance. Thank you.
Got it.
Okay. Brika Lai, unless you have anything else, we'll just go ahead and continue this?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, give you a motion to continue the NOI for 55 Milliken Ave to April 3rd at 7:08.
Second. Vote to continue.
Vote to continue?
Continue.
Continue?
Continue.
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 Continue. Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for the hearings. Now.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move over to minor buffer zone activities. The first one is 51 Dover Circle. Is there anyone in the audience or online for 51 Dover Circle?
Hi, James White. I'm the applicant, homeowner at 51 Dover Circle.
Okay. Do you want to just briefly describe what you would like to do?
Sure. So I've submitted a MBZA application for removal of a few trees in my backyard. Trees are fairly tall, fairly close to the structure. Many of them are leaning towards the structure. Most of them have either elevated or appearance of unstable root structure. So I've had a few tree contractors come out. They've labeled the trees that they recommended for removal. Reached out to Rika Lai last week. She came out, did a site visit, explained the process to me, so prepared the application, and here I am.
Okay. And you do realize that we are recommending that the stumps be left in place? That's a typical request from conservation?
Yes.
Okay.
I am agreeable to that.
Okay, all right. Brika Lai, do you have any comments about what you saw during your site visit?
No, I have no comments other than what he has stated,
Okay.
and then what the arborist saw.
Okay.
It's pretty clear. Several of them are girdled. They are leaning. Some of them are decaying. And because they're not in lawn, I mean, typically anyways, yes, the commission leaves the stump in place, but there's no reason why it should need to come up.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Glass, any questions?
No, cut them down.
Pretty
No.
straightforward.
It's,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Okay. All right. Then I'll take a motion to approve the MBZA for 51 Dover Circle.
I'll give you a motion to approve the MBZA for 51 Dover Circle.
Second that.
Vote to approve.
Vote to approve.
Vote to approve.
Approve?
Approve.
Approve.
Approve?
Approved. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Thank you
Thanks,
for coming in.
James. Appreciate it.
Thank you for staying so late.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next and last MBZA for the evening is 6 Georgia Drive. Is there anyone here? Ah! Yay, you finally get to do it! Yeah! It's like Disneyland,
It is like Disney.
but not as expensive.
But I didn't get the fast pass though, apparently.
That's right. Yeah. But see, but when you go through the door, you'll have like a special conservation coats and hats and all sorts of
Yes,
stuff.
indeed. All right, so I'm looking to do a restoration on one side of my property after doing the bee program out in Nicolai last spring. So
Right.
I have some, it's a corner of my lot that is, I believe, within, it's kind of loose that it's near the 100-foot buffer zone, but I wanted to still have this meeting because depending on which GIS I look at, it might be within or not within that space.
Right.
The space that's there has mainly invasives in it. It's right near, you can kind of see the red arrow there. It's the edge of the property line near the lawn. That will be right near a telephone pole. I think if we scroll through this, it'll show, well, I think I can do that. Look at me, I can go.
So the little area outlined in red is where you're gonna do it?
Yes, and I have some pictures of what the space looks like. So there's just a lot of them. The invasives there are, garlic mustard, multiflora rose. There's a, that's kind of hard to tell in that picture, but there is a small tree there, like a mulberry invasive. And the plan for that space is, and then that's just showing what the area would be kind of in 3D. The attempt. And then there is a plan in order to put in some native plantings there. So putting in not going past the telephone pole, so trying not to go too deep into the wetlands or into the buffer zone, for that space. It also is very steep after that point, so I don't really want to be going in that steep anyway for runoff reasons, or just I don't want to break my ankle in there trying to pick up the stuff. If we have any more from that. There we go, the restoration plan. So just under 300 square feet in that space. I wasn't really sure what to say. It is permanent because I'm taking out vegetation, but it's all invasive stuff, and I'm permanently putting in native in that space. And I am pulling out some of the lawn as well. I don't actually know how much square footage of the lawn I'm taking out.
You're gonna need some samurai armor to get that multi-floor.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
It's nasty.
It's nasty.
That looks like a good idea.
And it's a long time ago, but Brico, I did come out, I think last July, to look at it after the program, but unfortunately, it's been a long time coming. But now, we have the plan ready to go.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Looks nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great
As
idea.
well.
big improvements, yes. Get rid of invasives and do plantings, that's great. We like that.
Yes.
Did you do the drawings for the?
I did, yeah, I brought them,
That
so
is-
just in case.
That's
It looks
great.
great.
Cool.
Yeah, this is great information.
Yeah, right.
And
We like good
Thank Rika,
drawings.
she taught me from the B program.
So this is an easy yes, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
I will take a motion then to approve.
I'll give you a motion to approve the minor buffer zone activity for 6 Georgia Drive.
Definitely second that.
With
Vote to approve
enthusiasm.
it.
vote to approve.
Vote to approve.
Approved.
Approve.
Approve.
Approved?
Approved, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in. and
Thank you.
Send
taking
us a
through it.
picture when you get it done.
Yeah, I would love to see
definitely.
that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Great job.
Okay, what do we got? We have a couple, okay, so we have a couple of certificates of compliance. The first one is for 32 Miller Street, and I hear the notes are, this is a historic order with no violations, so it's pretty straightforward. Is there anyone here or online for 32 Miller Street? No?
Yes, this is Brad Livingston. I am the applicant and current homeowner at 32 Miller Street.
Okay, all right. And this is some sort of historic order that's been sitting around for some time, is this correct?
Close to 30 years. From
30 years? Jeez.
There's a saga to this one, so
Wow.
I just recommend approval for it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So-
Can't let this go on for another 30.
That's a long freaking time, okay. Okay. Are we okay?
I'm good.
Good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, give it to me.
I'll give you a motion to approve the COC for 32 Miller Street.
Second, vote to approve.
Vote to approve.
Vote to approve.
Approve?
Approve?
Approve.
Approve?
Approve. Noting that we are not, unfortunately, it's too late for the narrative, which would have been interesting. Okay.
Another time, perhaps.
Another time, yes.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So the next COC we have is for 100 Poppy Lake Street. Is there anybody here or online for 100 Poppy Lake?
Yes, sir. You might have thought you got rid of me, but no such luck.
That
Hi,
guy
Chris.
again.
You have the duty tonight.
Hi,
That
guys.
guy. Okay.
So it's me, and I'm joined by Monique Allen from the Garden Continuum, who actually did the work out here. And I will run through it briefly. Let's see. So, as I'm sure most of you will recall, last year we permitted this project, which was essentially just a major sort of backyard renovation with a variety of landscaping and hardscaping. We are here at 100 Populatic Street, obviously existing house down here, plan bottom left. We have Populatic Pond up here. at the top of the plan. All the work, well, I should say the primary portion of the work was limited to kind of existing backyard area that had been lawn or patio in some way. That work was all completed with just a handful of minor deviations in kind of shape and orientation, but for all intents and purposes, completed in compliance with the approved plans. There was also some additional mechanical invasive removal along the slope here leading down to Populatic Pond. Primarily Japanese knotweed had been managed over the course of the last year or so, and a variety of native plantings reinstalled in that area. So just to kind of walk through, and one other note, there was one kind of apparent deviation that would have made it look like the limit of work changed. We discovered in the process that it was really just an error in the survey drawings that we had been working off of. So that was the fence layout in this neighborhood. It had been shown as kind of a hard 90 rather than this gentler angle here. But a variety of photos from prior to the work showing that fence alignment had remained unchanged. Yeah, a couple of photos there. So scrolling through, we have obviously the replaced staircase down to the pond, providing that dock access, as well as a much safer access to the water. Some beautiful landscape and hardscape work by Monique's team, patio in the rear with some planting beds, beautiful weeping spruce, an arbor, and a smattering of plantings all throughout. So that is the gist of the work that has been completed out here. I had noticed in Bricolai's agent report that there might have been an outstanding question with regard to some of the invasive management along the slope there. We had submitted a request for a full COC, and I had thought that maybe some continued invasive management and monitoring of that area could be incorporated as an ongoing condition, but obviously I think that'll be the commission's discretion. So if there's any questions between Monique and myself, we're happy to answer them.
Okay, so just, again, for historical purposes for people, typically when we have not had, in these situations when looking at COCs, where there's been significant plantings as part or revegetation, right? We typically, obviously, would like to see at least a single growing season just to make sure that things actually grow. So typically what we have done in the past is we have approved all of the provisions of the COC except for the provision that that one part, the one single outstanding piece of the COC, which involves the planting and the plant monitoring, remains intact, such that it at least allows us the wherewithal to monitor, such that when we do have the growing season, the things that have grown up, we can actually see that we've met the 75% threshold, that at that point, then we can just basically do the total release. And that is how we've done it in the past in these situations, because especially when people like plant like right before the winter starts or something like that, and there's just nothing you can possibly see if you go out. You don't know, we have no idea. So at least it doesn't just simply throw away the control that the commission has to ensure that the plantings do take, and there actually is that 75%. So again, just historical perspective, this is the kind of thing that we've done in the past.
So how would we word that?
It'd be a partial.
Just to say partial?
You could do a partial, or I had considered what Chris said, you could always put an ongoing condition. And you just reference the previously supplied invasive species management plan. Okay. It is a separate document.
Okay. That's true.
Yeah,
we could do that
through the
too.
chair, if I may.
Yeah, we could do that.
I think that probably makes a lot of sense in this case, so we're not coming back to you again for essentially the same thing in a year or so. There is actually, the language on the COC form does say ongoing conditions for continued monitoring or revegetation or something to that effect. So I think, I know Monique's team is contracted for at least another year of monitoring and any replacement plantings out here. So I think that probably makes sense that we can do a full COC with an ongoing condition to that effect.
That's fine. Again, it really doesn't matter. It's just really just having some sort of ability to have enough controls that you can actually do the monitoring and ensure that the condition is held. That's all. It doesn't really matter how that happens or is affected, honestly. It's just that we don't just give it up, right? That's been the gist of the conversations in the past.
Sounds good.
So that's fine.
I feel better knowing that there's the contract in place too.
Sure.
That-
Yeah, okay. So, yes,
I'm good with that.
okay, we're all good? Was that good, guys?
That's fine.
Everybody good, everything happy?
We're good.
Okay, so I guess the motion would be to approve the certificate of compliance. Do we have to add an additional piece to that, Bricolai?
You have to add a condition.
Oh, condition.
Do you want to take a stab at it?
I'm not very good. Off-the-cuff conditions, but.
Well, condition will be a partial
Well, no.
So-
It's
so we're gonna-
ongoing monitoring,
So the condition would be ongoing monitoring by the landscaping company, which is.
When
Or till 75% revegetation is
Okay,
outlined
till
in the
yeah,
invasive
there you
species.
go.
That's a good one, yeah, till
Yeah.
75, okay.
There you go.
Ongoing monitoring until, right, ongoing monitoring of the vegetation until we reach 75% vegetation. Yes?
Go with it.
That's another condition, additional condition.
Yep.
Okay, you got that? Can you
All
do
right,
it?
so motion, well, I'm gonna go as conditions as
We're
stated.
so close to the end, it's all up to you.
I'll give you a motion to
Don't choke.
to approve the COC on 100 Poplar Attic Street with conditions as stated.
I'll second that.
Oh, geez.
And I'm vote to approve.
Check it out.
Okay, vote to approve?
Vote to
Yeah.
approve.
Vote to
As
approve.
stated.
Vote to approve. Approve?
Approve.
Approve. Thank you.
It's
Thanks,
rapidly
guys.
going
Thank you.
downhill, guys.
Aye.
Everyone's
Thank
really
you.
tired, that we're so tired of
Thanks,
punching.
Chris.
All right,
Thank you, folks. Now everyone go get some sleep.
yeah,
Bye.
yeah, you get to leave, yeah, uh-huh. All right, so we have 2 items in discussions, hopefully they'll be really super short. The first
They will
one-
not be.
Oh, God.
One of them will
All right,
be.
the first one is Concom training. Bricolai, take
Why
it
don't you
away.
Why don't we do Earth Day event first?
Okay,
and then-
Earth Day event, take it away.
All right. So just to confirm with the commission, what you had discussed last time was Sunday, April 27th from 10 to 1. I did get Tom Ashton. He's the forester that we contracted with to do the Delcart Forest Stewardship Plan.
Okay.
He can come out and do a woods walk. I also asked Michael Downey. He said likely, but he just has to confirm. So regardless, we would have one or the other.
Okay.
So I had intended to have the flyer put up, but as you all saw in my email, I got completely sidebarred today. So I picked on the priorities, which was the agent report and getting all of our documents finished. So I can send out that flyer tomorrow. It's pretty basic. It's just a regurgitation of things that we've done in the past, so I don't anticipate comments. I did want to tell the commission though, right, so this is your Earth Day event. You know, in past, I have kind of picked up the mantle for them, or the whatever the word would be, sorry, it's late, for them, but this is your event, and I will not be there. So, I really need you, it doesn't have to be tonight, but to start thinking up duties of what you could bring to the table. I still have to reach out to actually ask about tables, so I'm glad I brought that out. I would like to note that if the commission would like food or beverages, let me know at the next meeting so I can source an invoice for it. So none of you are going out the morning of and buying something and then getting a receipt. Not only will that be difficult with me maybe being on leave at that point, but accounts payable is really cracking down, or has cracked down on individual residents that are on boards asking for reimbursement.
Right.
And the staff in general too. So everything has to go through an invoice now. So that means you could do Birchwood, you could do Big Y, you could do Roche Brothers, you could do anything that you want if you would like food or beverages there. I just need to know ahead of time so I can plan for it. And then I believe at the last meeting I mentioned I would also make a spreadsheet for all of you. You will need to sign yourself up to volunteer, essentially.
Okay.
So that's what I have to say about that. Whew. Yep.
I was just gonna say, that means Jeff is not available.
I'm hosting another event in Douglas that day.
I'll be there. Everybody else, good to, 10 to 1 is what we were looking at, I think. Everybody else think they can.
April 27th?
Yeah, Sunday the 27th, 10 to.
Sunday the 27th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Hey.
I'm good. I'll come.
All right. I'll be there. All right.
Thank you.
I'll be there.
You know, Roger, not to put you on the spot, one idea I had, I mean, is anything we could do with your bees?
Yeah,
Not-
that's
not
a good
bring-
idea.
not the bees themselves, maybe like, well, maybe bring them, I don't know,
How
maybe a
about bee
comb.
stuff? Bee stuff?
Just bring some honey.
Yeah, let me give that some.
Could we do like bees and then basically just do a little plug for the bee thing? Like, you know, the Rika's bee thing, kind of like.
Oh, we built those bee things last time, didn't we?
Well, respectfully, sorry,
they're not
Roger,
native bees.
the bee program
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to do with bees. It's an acronym. And the bee program would focus on native bees. And I would not recommend
You're saying
soliciting
native? You
a
think it'd be
commissioner's
confusing.
business
It'd be
at
confusing.
a
Okay,
public
I see,
event.
I see, okay.
Well, actually, as a play off that, is there somebody residentially wise that, or resident wise that engaged really well in the bee program that maybe would be willing to talk about that with other people that come to the event? You know, I mean, we had the woman here tonight, you know, people take pride in that. Two separate things, right? I think
Yeah.
Roger.
So Roger and Michael were both in the bee program as well.
Michael.
So you're graduates of the bee.
So we got Roger doing one kind of bees and Michael, you're doing the other bee, right? Is that you guys up? I mean, just.
Will that be taught again?
Wonder if we can get our hands on those
What
Saturday
if-
Night
if we
Saturday
sell
Night
it?
Live bee
Oh,
costumes.
Jesus.
That would be great. You guys don't mind that, right?
I can definitely send an email out to the bees to see if somebody would like to come talk about one of their projects
I think
as a
that'd be
table.
cool.
That's fine.
But also, you know, Roger, I was thinking you're actually flying bees, right? The bug, not, well, insect.
But I'm not flying native bees, is what Rika lies.
Yeah.
But I think it's, well, but I think it's still a cool topic, right? I
Is
mean,
there a pollinator? I mean, that's important.
Yeah.
Let me give it some thought.
yeah, give us,
Like the bee expert.
yeah, I just thought it was, I don't know. I
Ask
think
Do
the
what
bee
you
expert.
want, Roger.
Ask the bee expert.
That's right.
All right, I'll leave it alone.
Are there plans for future bee classes?
No, I have to have a baby first.
Well,
Sorry,
yeah,
Michael. Well,
You can put that off, come on.
No, I just don't want.
I know. No, it's like a year-long, so that was a grant that I had applied for the previous
Oh, right,
year
that's
to
right,
put
that's
it
right.
on.
That's right.
So at this point, no, because I need to figure out what's going on. And we have been so utterly busy on the Conservation Commission side. So this is where that division of duties comes into play.
Right.
Right, so the B program was more on the natural resource side than it was on Conservation Commission.
Right.
Unfortunately, when Concom is really busy, all those other educational extracurricular things get pushed to the side.
Yep.
Without help, I can't do both.
Right.
Yeah, the reason I ask though is we just don't want to push it too hard, you know, if there's not a, you know,
Oh, well.
some dates coming, like, everybody.
No, I
goes-
understand.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
It was always
True.
going to be a 2-year cohort. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
Because as we've learned, right, with plantings, it usually takes that long to get something in. As you saw with Heather, she's coming in the next season to
Right.
try and get something permitted.
Right.
So I'm still in my cohort phase. I have a handful of people, the 10 actually, that are actually installing habitats. I need to make sure that there's metrics of success. So baby aside, which was just a one-off comment, I'm still within the time frame of learning what works and what doesn't. I think there is merit of having someone come and table, especially as a peer or a resident, to say, this is what I'm doing on my property.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
We do have a hand raised.
So it's not advertising for the bee program, it's showing what can be done.
Yeah, yeah.
You have a thought or question?
I asked this question previously during the presentations for the buying of the two large open spaces, the Schmitz property and the property between Maple and Lincoln. And it may be way premature, and it may not even be in the purview of this group, but while you're talking bees, I love bees. Would it be possible that this board or another board would someday look to have some bee habitat on parts of those open space? Or would that be something that was gonna require money that the town doesn't have, or is it premature to even bring it up?
Nope, so I presented at town council draft concept plans about both of those properties. Maple Hill is not, that is a forested area, it's going to be maintained a forested area. The draft concept plan for Schmitz Farm actually does have native bee habitat. I will note, I love honey. I use honey all the time. It's very medicinal, it's very nutritive, it's very good for you. When it comes to conservation areas, I am a bit more biased. There are multiple studies out there about how honeybees outcompete native bees. So I will admit that when Schmitz Farm, when I was working on that design with Beta, it was a plug from me to have native bee areas. So you can go on our website, you can look at the plans, you can attend the next council meeting. But Schmitz Farm itself is not a conservation area. I'm a project manager of it because of what it is and my other job duties that I provide to the town. But that is not, those are not scoped within the purview of the Conservation Commission. Is the Conservation Commission a stakeholder? Of course you are, but that's not privy to right now.
Thank you.
Yep. So anyways, that was the nicest way that I could put that. Roger, sorry. With that, I will say, last year we did do native bees, and Roger actually, I'm not volunteering you for it again, because I know it was a lot of work, but Roger repurposed the wooden boxes that honeybees come into native bee habitats. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh, yeah, that's right, I remember that, yes. Yeah.
So if there's some sort of project, educational things like that, you could definitely talk about that.
Could you do something like that?
If you would like to talk about honeybees, you can definitely talk about honeybees.
Could you do
You guys
something
just
like
gotta let me
that,
know.
where you would actually, like, that would be a project for, like, the kids to do? Like,
That's-
here's a box, here's the
yep.
things, you put and they basically put them together, and that teaches them about the native habitat for the bees.
Yep, so Roger built the boxes. There are inserts that I had gotten, and then the boxes were painted.
Okay.
I would suggest with timing, and just the lift that happened, and just repeating certain things every year, I don't know if that's a feasible option.
It's a lot to get together.
It's a lot to get together.
What about insect boxes or something the kids could do on a smaller scale?
What was that?
Those the insect boxes or houses that the
Yep, that's what we made.
Oh,
Yep.
that's what you made. Oh.
Yep. So they're native. There's a whole art form to it, and we are already at 10 p.m. and I promise you do not want me to get going on native bees. Ask Louis. Just but I would say before the next meeting, start ruminating on things if you would like to have like a kids craft or activity.
Okay, right.
So that's fine. Okay, so this is really what we need to get into. There's no other updates from any of the extracurriculars. We need to get into your training and the workflow for my leave, if you guys are ready to jump into that.
Yep.
Okay. So, I'm unfortunately not gonna be able to see you guys, and I can't see you anyways, because I just see myself talking back to me. So, I'm gonna go here, and hopefully this,
Takes a minute
of
to
course,
come up.
why would it open up? There it is.
Just
All
takes a
right.
second, yeah.
This is the same.
Everybody can
Yeah, in
see
the
this?
document. Okay. Yep.
Okay. This is the final version. This is what Beta is inking a scope and fee on.
100 miles away.
To that point, even though it's final, if you guys have comments, please let me know. This workflow is mainly only for Beta, Jeff and Mark, and Tyler, with some other town staff. Okay. I want to point out, though, some of the duties of the commission. So I have color coded this. So blue, Franklin Panther blue, right? So that's town of Franklin. Pink, Beta pink. And green, like trees, it's Concom.
Okay.
Love it.
All right.
Very thoughtful.
So, as you can see, I have thought of every possible scenario, from residents coming into the office, COCs, violations, emergency authorizations, notice of intent submissions, which is really long, RDA, COC, and MBZA submissions, meetings, general practice, you should all know that by now, building permits. Amy Love, the town planner, will be taking over building permits in my stead. If she has questions, she will be emailing that to Beta or Jeff and Mark for review. Public records requests, and DPW. DPW is likely the only true emergency that we will ever encounter during my leave, as we found last year when I was out for surgery and for Prospect Street culvert. So Jeff would ultimately grant that emergency authorization after John, Nero, or someone from his team had a chance to review. And then it would come in front of the commission as a normal process elsewhere. So I want to note again that commissioners, you have one conduit to get to Beta or the town at this point, and that needs to go through Jeff or Mark. So I will be sending out this workflow to everyone. I have to add contact emails, but that, oops, sorry, old habits. Okay. So you really need to follow chain of command, because unfortunately a chain of command falters during my leave. That I think is going to be the kicker for how this is going to break down. And that's how it should be anyways. You know, you should be operating like the other boards and commissions where you go through your chair. The chair is the point of contact. Unless you're town council, and then you're all elected, and then you all get to pepper Jamie with questions. I would like to note that if any of you would like Beta at the meeting for clarification, please let Jeff or Mark know. They will let Beta know if Beta needs to show up. Okay? I would like to note that Beta is not a mediator. So all residential inquiries, any conflict, any tension, that has to be addressed by you guys. That is what your purpose is. Lean on heavily on applicants to explain their processes. Okay? Ultimately, as I mentioned last time, it really shouldn't be me that should be explaining what the applicant is doing. They need to defend their science. They need to defend why they're doing something. So reroute it back to them. If you do not have bylaws or regs, or if you do not understand them, please let me know immediately so we can start working through them. If you recall, about a month ago, I also showed you the new MAC website. They have a helpline. Use your resources that you have available. Use all the stuff that I have in the drive. Go back through meeting minutes, go back through projects. At the next meeting, when we're doing training, yep. Is there a question?
No, there was just some buzz. No, somebody buzzed.
Okay. At the next meeting, I'll be going through tips and tricks for some of these projects.
Yep.
So some things that I look for, and when I'm doing desktop reviews, some things that I look for. I also want to note that Beta can only speak to their peer reviews. They can't give historical precedents. And no agent report will be provided by Beta, but Jeff, I know you mentioned perhaps writing a brief synopsis, so I leave that up to you.
So, okay, so just one comment to that. So, just so you guys know, Mark and Brigaloy and I typically have been either on a Wednesday morning or a Thursday morning meeting at the bakery just to go over the current agenda and get sort of like a down low, kind of like a preview of kind of what's coming up in the meeting, so at least we're prepped. Or if there's any big items for discussion, at least we know to point those out. It's been very, very helpful. I think I'm going to suggest to Mark that we continue that, him and I. So again, all of your inputs, that you can bring all those inputs to us if you want, during your review of the projects or whatever things. If you have specific questions or things you think we should bring up in discussion, like we really need to bring up this point, please tell us, and we'll add that to our mix and our preparatory notes before the meeting. Okay? We'll try to be more.
Just make sure it's only one of you emailing them.
Yes.
So,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, right, public meeting law. Yep.
So that's fine.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna continue sharing here. Ugh, I'm losing my voice, you guys. Okay. So, just some things to note to the Greater Commission as a reminder, right? My power is an extension of you guys. It's not the other way around. I don't give you guys power, you give me power. So at any time, you guys can conduct site visits. You do have to consider quorums. So if it is 4 or more, you have to post it. I would say generally, I would just post it anyways, even if you're at 3 people, right? Do not go out alone. Please always tell your chair or vice chair if you are planning to go to a site and they are not present.
Yeah.
I will be ordering vests for all of you. I would also caution all of you, I know it is very, very easy to want to talk to people when you are on a job site. Watch what you say.
Yep.
I'm sure we've seen it in chambers. We saw it last week. It's an unfortunate occupational hazard, but you have to walk around like everybody's going to throw something back at you at a public meeting. Be very careful what you say.
Well, let me just say also, again, historical note. Not this group, but in past groups, there have been at least two times, where a group of us have gone out to meet with an applicant on site, and we walked the property, and the applicant has been very folksy and very talky, okay? And you kind of get, your guard drops, and you just start talking. And then, unbeknownst to you, as Brika has pointed out, things have come up. Oh, but he said this, she said this, I took this as, as gospel. Now you're telling me it's different, or now this isn't fair. Been a big problem. So it is true what she's saying. I've witnessed this, at least again, 2 occasions where it caused a big problem in chambers after the fact. Okay, so even though they seem really nice, they want to talk, you want to talk about conservation stuff, you gotta be really careful. Because you're currently sitting on opposite sides of the table still, unfortunately.
Steer it to politics. then you'd be good.
Yeah, right. So I'm just saying, okay, 2 point. Go ahead, Bree. Black.
I usually, you guys can't deflect to this, but I always say, I don't make the rules, they make the rules. I'm just here to uphold them.
Great.
So.
Well, we could turn it around and say Brika isn't here, and so what can we do?
Yeah, we can't do, yeah. Right, right.
I like that.
Okay. So, let's see. With that, all right, so then I'm moving down, I'm just reading all of my notes here. I know, Louis, you were going to do a walkthrough of fees as well. I'll be emailing you tomorrow to set up some time so we can go over that.
Okay, thanks.
I do want to note about your missed meeting spreadsheet. I know it seems annoying about open meeting law. But again, you can only miss one meeting where there's a discussion. Jeff is going to make the ultimate determination of what a discussion is. It usually is, as it states, a discussion, a discourse, or where something substantive, right, was presented. You can only miss one, even if you fill out a missed meeting spreadsheet. If you continue to miss them, please fill out your missed meeting spreadsheets, but you will not be able to vote after 2 meetings where there's a discussion.
So if
Or
I
at
may-
meetings.
If I may, just as an example, a clarifying example, if we had an applicant here, seems simple, he'd already asked for a continuance, okay? We know that's true from the notes. And he basically simply says, I just want to continue, nothing is said. He doesn't present anything, there's no, right? That's pretty clean, right? That's not a discussion, that's just mechanics. However, if he says, I want to present on the top, I want to give you a rundown of my project, and that entails, and there's Q&A, that's a discussion, right?
Yeah.
So that's one very easy example of what becomes a discussion and what is not a discussion, okay? Just give you an idea.
Or if there's a citizen comment.
So,
Well, if there's a citizen comment that elicits a discussion back and forth between, so for example, let's say that, like, you gave your opinion and you sat down and nothing was said. That's really just input from a concerned citizen. That's not a discussion. However, as we had tonight, a lot of back and forth about clarifications, what does it mean, variances, etc. That's a discussion, okay? So it's really that back and forth between the body and either the public or the applicants. Okay, and my job is to err on the side of caution, okay? Because what you don't want is you don't want people being involved in a discussion, or not being involved in discussion, not being here, and then coming back and voting on something. And then the applicant goes, whoa, Mullen rule, what, no. You can't deny this, you didn't have quorum, because this guy couldn't vote. Okay, now you're illegal.
so when it comes to, say we have something that, they want to continue, they're not gonna, but they brief it out, like Beta or Goddard, they just said, we're just gonna give you an update. And really, but that's really what it was just an update. Like,
If they're basically reciting the same information that sits in the agent's report, for the most part, and there really isn't a lot of additional detail, I would consider that not to be discussed. That's it.
Yep.
Right? And then
It's a
we go-
presentation,
Yeah,
but it is a discussion. It can be.
Correct.
But
It
if it
depends.
leads to more of a
Yeah,
kind of like
wait a minute, wait.
question and answer
Right,
type of deal,
like-
that's it.
Well, if that brings up like a point in a law, like, does that point in law, or I don't understand what you're doing, or, this kind of thing, where you're actually asking for additional detail, or there's a discussion about the group's opinion about something that was presented.
Right.
That's a discussion.
Yeah.
So that's where you cross the line, in my opinion.
Yep.
But again, my job is to err on the side of caution, so we don't get in trouble. Okay? Breaky, Lai, do you have
All right.
anything to add to that? No? Okay.
No, well, along that vein, please, again, along with chain of command and communication, make sure if you have vacation scheduled, you are saying it 2 weeks in advance.
Yes.
Even a month in advance, and I'll get to that in a minute. So, your job, commissioners, is to review meeting materials as normal. You really need to read Beta's peer review letters. Next meeting, we will go in on how to read their peer review letter. If you would like to start now, it's really easy. You read the bold. Read the bolded text in each line. It's usually, or each numbered point. It would be a W for wetland or SW for stormwater. W9 will have Beta's initial comment. It'll have a response from an applicant in italics, and then it will have like Beta, so it'd be W9-1 or something like that, and then they would have in bold the latest response. Applicants respond the same way. So you can read the paragraph at the top, usually from Beta peer review, which summarizes everything that's outstanding. And then on subsequent pages, you can just go through and read the bold. You should be doing it anyways. I understand if you don't, but that is how you can get all the most recent up-to-date information as well. I will note though, pay attention to the bylaws and regs. Beta is fluent in the Wetlands Protection Act. I provide that bylaw and reg oversight, knowing that they have the Wetlands Protection Act side, right? So your job as the commission is to uphold your bylaws and regs. So again, if you don't understand those, I know we have some newer commissioners. That's okay, please let me know. I will happily set aside time for you and we can walk through some commonplace scenarios with those bylaws. So bringing up vacations and why I said perhaps a month in advance, and along the vein of public hearing closure. So when you are moving to permit closure, it is up to the commission to draft conditions. It really is. I draft them what I think professionally is needed. I would hope that all of you look at those ahead of time or you understand why they're there or what the numbers mean. Jeff is right, that sheet is right online. It's also right in your Google Drive on the main parent folder. So when you are moving towards permit closure during my leave, start ruminating on what conditions you think would be feasible per project. Right? Is it a large scale development? Will they be bringing in large tankers? Will they be removing invasive species? Is it a deck replacement? You know, where is it? Is it, how many resource areas are there? Is it a commercial industrial place? Will they need to spray fertilizer? Do you want them to spray fertilizer? Where would you like them to put snow? So start thinking of those things, okay? Any suggestions made by Beta, they will write them. I don't always recommend some of Beta's conditions, mainly because there's already oversight in our special conditions. Or sometimes I actually propose conditions that are more stringent than Beta, also because I know this landscape a little bit more than Beta, right? I am strictly within the confines of Franklin. And your own creativity. So Beta will not be creative. Beta will work within the confines of the Wetlands Protection Act, and that's it. Commissioners, you can be creative. So be creative. Be legal, please. I don't want to come back to lawsuits, but you can be creative with your conditions. To that point, things are likely going to slow down during my leave. Commissioners, you have done this before. This is actually how planning board operates. So it is a tried and true method, so to speak. But you would draft your conditions, talk about them, finalize verbally, and close the hearing at one meeting, but you would not vote to approve the project at the next meeting. This is so Beta can actually draft the real conditions. So there's no expectation for you guys to write out, especially findings of fact, because that is 110% legal jargon. There's no expectation for you to perhaps phrase conditions on the fly, in full sentence structure. I would like you to try. I think it's a good exercise for you. However, Beta will actually be drafting the conditions. So that means you close, the public hearing meeting 1. Beta has 2 weeks to be able to draft those conditions. Then at, the final meeting, then you actually approve that document. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. It is up to you to communicate that timeline to applicants. So, you'll want to say that. So if you have vacations now, this is where saying you're gonna miss a meeting a month in advance for scheduled vacations or whatever, families coming into town, we don't need to know where you are, taking into consideration a previous comment made. But this is where it comes into play, where it's absolutely important if we have quorum. It is far easier to move a meeting to a Wednesday or to a Friday, well, probably not a Friday, but a Wednesday or a Tuesday, to make sure that you have quorum. You did approve 3 projects tonight, public hearings, which is good. I expect to knock off a few more before I'm actually on leave. But to Jeff's point that he made earlier, you're gonna have some big projects coming during my leave. And you can do it, it's fine, there's enough coverage, you have enough technical expertise. It's just making sure that ultimately residents understand the process. Okay, so I know it's getting late, but that's really the only overarching full commission things that you need to do, action items. I want you to ruminate on it, sleep on it, look at the workflow. It's in the Google Drive. Make sure it makes sense to you. At the next meeting, which will hopefully be a lot shorter, you can ask me those questions. You can email me any questions as well. That's fine. Please just CC Jeff on that, just so he knows. Sorry, Jeff, I'm going to volunteer you, but just so he knows where there's a gap in understanding or comprehension. And then at the next meeting, we'll go over tips and tricks. That makes sense?
Totally.
And if you have questions now, you can ask. I don't want to keep you, I don't have an hour drive home anymore. So.
That's right, yeah, that's right. That's right, actually.
You let me know.
I'm good, you good?
I'm good.
I appreciate you taking us through
I
it.
need to go
I
home.
appreciate you putting the work into that.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
that's, yeah, when we saw that, we reviewed it, it's great.
Beta will have their I was supposed to have it earlier, but they'll have not peer review, but the scope and fee. I'm hoping by the next meeting, so then I can bring that to you to approve. The commission will not be paying for all of it. I have money in my budget to cover my own duties, but the commission will likely have a pot of hours to be used as general consulting services for Beta that do not fall under the auspices of normal peer review.
And Briggle, I'm assuming that it covers John, but if John needs to pull other people in, they would cover them as well, correct?
It covers Beta.
All of Beta.
So, yeah, it covers Beta, and likely what they'll do, which is what any good consultant does, you don't want to pay for John. You want to pay for someone on his staff.
There you go.
So that's why he has his staff working on it.
I
They're
see.
much smaller hourly rate.
Got it, yep.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. Okay,
Good
good.
stuff.
Okay, with that, I think we will finally take a motion. Wow. To close.
Motion to close the meeting.
Adjourn, yeah.
Adjourn.
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 Whatever.
All undebatable?